went south.
Correct.
And it is your claim that your former daughter-in-law has embarked upon a campaign of harassment, slander, defamation of your character that has gone on for a very long time. You want her to pay for that. Ms. Hubel says quite the contrary. When she was in the midst of a custody battle with your son, you called Child Protective Services on her often. You've harassed her over the years with complaints to Child Protective Services and the police.
Oh, yes.
And as a result of that, she's filed a counterclaim. When did the trouble start with Ms. Hubel?
My son was taking my younger son, Dylan, and Jeffrey back to drop him off at his mother's work, the daycare. I was in between my bus routes. I'm a school bus driver. It was pouring down rain. He doesn't drive. So I ran down and gave them a ride up the hill about 1,500 feet to the daycare and dropped him off in front. And my grandson was ecstatic. Grandma dropped him off in the bus. I wasn't on my route. He ran in and I saw him gather all the kids that came to the window and they're all waving at me. So I smiled and waving at him. She walked over and slapped him and told him to get away from the window. I'm sorry. My older son was there, and they turned from the window. Her and the employees that were friends of hers said, "Let's call the school district and get her in trouble." I didn't know what was going on at the time. I went back on my route. I get a phone call on my bus. My supervisor goes, "Debbie, what's going on?" I go, "I don't know what happened." She said, "Some lady called and said you kidnapped her kid on her bus." And I said, "No, the only thing I did was pick up my grandson and my son." I was mortified.
So that's when the trouble started. What happened with that incident, Ms. Hubel?
Actually, what had happened was, after numerous amount of times of her dropping Jeffrey off on the school bus without permission, I had called the school district and spoke to her supervisor, with whom I have a letter stating that I was not harassing in any way, and that she was spoken to and told that he was not allowed to ride that school bus because he was not assigned that.
Okay. Had you, in the past, told your mother-in-law that you didn't want him riding the school bus?
No, we were not to be speaking at that time.
Why not?
There was orders.
So that the trouble started before that?
Oh, yes.
Well, then that's what I'm asking. I want to know when the trouble started.
The problem started actually before I left Joshua, my ex-husband. Probably it was the first time that he was arrested for assaulting me. My son was 2 at the time. From that point on, there was no kindling of the relationship with me and Debbie.
Okay. How many times had he been arrested for assaulting you?
Twice for assaulting me. The last time he slammed me into a wall and tore my rotator cuff, and I had to have surgery.
Has he been convicted on...
He sure has.
Did he serve any jail time?
Yes, he did.
How long?
He was sentenced to 30 days, but he ended up having an ankle bracelet because of whatever kind of medication he was taking, they wouldn't allow in the jail.
What kind of medication does he take?
Marinol.
What is that for?
I don't. All I know is it's THC in a pill. I don't know what it's for.
What kind of ailment does he have?
None that I'm
Do you
aware
know?
of.
Yes.
What?
He has a cancerous esophagus. He has a heart condition, and he has epileptic seizures. So
Okay.
He's on...
You didn't tell me he was convicted of assaulting his former wife.
I need to clear something up.
Uh-huh.
Number one, the lease was in my name. I rented the building because it gave them an opportunity to have their own place.
I'm not interested in that.
Okay.
My question, Ms. Neville, is I asked you when the trouble began, and what you said was it started over this bus incident, which would have sounded really petty to me.
Yeah.
For her to file a complaint if she had a problem with you. You would all live together, pick up the phone and say, "Debbie, I don't want you dropping Jeffrey off on the bus." But that didn't happen.
Correct.
So the problem started before. And common sense would indicate to me you would have not been happy with your son's arrest for assault and spending any time in jail. And that probably precipitated the bad feeling between the two of you, which predated the school bus incident.
No, it didn't. She misled you on that fact.
No,
So what you're saying is the assault occurred before the school bus incident.
Oh, yes, this was before we were divorced. The first incident was before we were divorced. The second incident was in February of 2003.
And when was the school bus incident?
January 30th, 2003.
What was the second assault about?
He had came into where I worked, All About Kids, to do a visitation with my son. He came to pick up Jeffrey, and he slammed me into the door jamb of a wall and tore my rotator cuff, took off with Jeffrey. The police came. They went and found Josh and Jeffrey.
What was the altercation about?
A coat. A coat.
Now, I understand that you don't like each other. Don't like each other, I don't get involved in. You claim lost wages and punitive damages for defamation of character.
Correct.
You have 1 minute.
She called my boss. I have documentation when she called, and they logged it over to my boss. There's no mention that she's my daughter-in-law, that that's my grandson, or my sons that I'm picking up. It says that unknown people and her son. He was on a visitation with him, and his father gave permission for him to ride the bus. So I have permission to give him a ride on my bus when
No, you don't. No, you don't. Because if there is a court order of visitation, the court order of visitation provides that the child is to be picked up and returned at a specific location.
Correct.
Not by you.
Not by me.
But by his father.
And his father was on my bus. Let me explain, okay?
No. I want you to tell me what the lawsuit is about.
Okay. I'm sorry. So, I go back, I talk to my boss. My boss says, get an anti-harassment order because we don't want to deal with this problem. I did. I went before a judge.
All you had to do was stop taking your grandson off the road that you were supposed to be traveling with other children and not drop him off at the daycare.
Well, I hadn't had an opportunity not do that.
But Miss Neville.
I did what
Miss
the
Neville
officer told me.
No.
That's,
first of all, that's hearsay.
Excuse me.
Listen to me.
Explain this. You're twisting this.
I'm not twisting anything.
You are.
Now listen to me.
She's saying there was a DV assault, but they had got reconciled. They got together. They moved out. They left. She got caught cheating, having an affair with a high school kid.
Listen to me carefully. All you had to do.
Well, she doesn't mention that to you.
Just
I mean,
a second.
come on.
I'm talking about you and your lawsuit,
Okay.
which I'm going to lose my temper over in a couple of seconds.
Well, I've had to deal with it for 5 years. How do you?
You don't get 5 years worth, madam. What you're going to tell me is about lost wages.
Correct.
And punitive damages for defamation of character and slander. Get there.
What it had to do with is the whole school year of 2000 and 2004, she continued to make attacks on my person by making claims that my grandson's scared of me. She wrote the school this. She tried to get me removed from my school route by writing the school district.
Show me.
This is the statement, one letter that she wrote.
Okay, so after you stopped bringing him to the daycare, and there was no problem with that, she wrote this to the school.
Correct.
And you claim that this is harassment. I want to know what, this is a legal claim.
Yeah, she claimed she didn't want Jeffrey to speak to me or be near me, that he was scared of me.
Okay. She contacted the school, to whom it may concern. You sent this to the elementary school? And it merely says that she does not want, for whatever reason, which she outlines here, she doesn't want Debbie Neville to contact him while he's at school.
Your Honor, the reason why is because there was an incident with Debbie and my son Jeffrey at the school. I have a letter from his principal in regards to that, as well as a letter from my son's therapist that he's been seeing since kindergarten regarding the incident.
The therapist in September of 2003, and I don't want to go back there, says it's best for him not to have contact with you. Okay. Get to 2005.
Okay.
I want to hear how you have a lawsuit against Miss Hubel for lost wages and defamation of character.
Okay.
This is not a therapy session,
I know.
Miss Neville.
I know.
This is a lawsuit. So get there.
So several times I had that anti-harassment order, I had to call the police and report incidences with her, and I have copies of a few of those.
I'm not interested.
And so the following...
I'm not interested. I'm interested in defamation and lost wages. And if you can't get there, I'm going to dismiss your case.
I had to select a different route the following year to prevent her from further tormenting me.
Okay, good. That's not a lawsuit. What else?
I lost wages because of that, because I didn't take that route because she kept calling the school district.
That's the way things go.
Here's a letter from his bus driver.
I'm not interested in a letter from his bus driver. I don't see a lawsuit, Ms. Neville.
If you don't let me enter my evidence, how am I supposed to prevent a case?
I want you to tell me. I want you to tell me.
You just read documents that were not notarized, that I don't...
They're from school officials and a therapist.
The school official got fired because of what she did, wrote that letter. She was not allowed to write that letter.
Listen to me. I'm not interested in anything that happened in 2003. This is not a therapy session. It's a court.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're going to have to move. Otherwise, there's going to be constant
It's not all that easy just to pick up and move.
It's not all that easy. Have the last 4 years been easy?
No.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Debbie Neville claims ex-daughter-in-law Sarah Hubel has slandered her at her job. Sarah is countersuing for harassment.
I'm going to hear your counterclaim. 30 seconds. Get there.
Yes, ma'am. Well, as of this year, a couple weeks ago, she just had taken me to court again, trying to get an anti-harassment order for me. It was denied. This was the second order that she had tried to get against me that was denied. I'm continually having to go into court because of her allegations.
Where do you live?
I live in Seattle.
Which she moved right next door to me. Why she had the restraining order, she moved right up the street from me, right on top of my bus route, just so she could watch me come and go.
Where does your former husband live?
He also lives in Seattle.
How far away from you?
Well, actually, they just moved. Maybe about a mile from where I live.
Seattle's a big place. Why don't you move farther away from them?
I don't move farther away from them because my son goes to school there. He has gone to school there since kindergarten. I work right across the street from my son's school. I live right down the road.
Who else lives with you now, Miss Hubel?
Christopher Crippen.
Who is he?
My boyfriend.
Does he work?
Yes.
How long was the custody battle that you had with your former husband?
2.5 years.
Did he want custody?
No.
So he wanted visitation?
Just visitation.
Does he have visitation now?
Not any longer.
When was that terminated?
In March of 2003, right after the assault, I went to the court to get a protection order for my son to ask for supervised visitation. And Josh denied in open court that he wanted to have any visitation with Jeffrey if it had to be...
Supervised?
Supervised.
So are you telling me that he hasn't seen his son since March of 2003?
Correct.
Is he living with you?
He is.
Very sad family case.
Yes, it is.
But one thing you seem to be both accomplishing is you're both accomplishing making this little boy crazy.
Excuse me.
You got to get over it, both of you.
I've never
You don't have a lawsuit. This case is this is not a lawsuit. This is aggravation.
It is aggravation.
It is aggravation.
It is.
You're causing each other aggravation. You have to stop.
Correct. But she won't stop.
I have the feeling, Miss Neville, and I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that if you had nothing to do with her, nothing to do with her,
you know
your
what?
problems would be over. I can understand why you're angry. I can understand.
Excuse me.
I can understand why you're angry. You have a son who's ill, who, according to you, has cancer. Takes medication.
No, it's not according to me.
Who's been in jail.
Doctor's reports
I'm
right
speaking.
here.
You're not following.
You're making statements.
You are over here. You're not getting it.
It's not according to me. Here's some documents.
I agree with you. I accept the fact that he's ill.
And I don't call her job. I don't follow her around. I don't do that.
I have a feeling, Miss Neville, that Miss Hubel would like...
My witness can testify to her following me into the store, staying outside, waiting for me to come out of the store, and chasing me out of the parking lot. I've had her push a grocery cart into my leg.
You shouldn't have anything to do with each other. You shouldn't be near each other.
Honor, I thought it was supposed to be my turn to be giving my statements.
What I'm trying to do is to tell you, neither one of you has a lawsuit. You have created aggravation for each other.
What have I done to her? Excuse me, tell me. Do you have documentations of what have I called your job? Have I gone to your place of work? I avoid your place of work. My friends avoid you. The whole community avoids you because they're scared of you. They're scared if you get done tired being mad at me that they're going to stalk them. I have witnesses would not come because they're scared of her.
Well,
I lost business in my art because of her.
One way or another, if you want to live in peace, you're going to have to relocate.
Yes.
That's what you're going to have to do. You're going to have to move out of Seattle. And if you don't do it, then you're just prolonging this bad feeling because she has a grown son who has an illness. That makes her feel bad as a mother. She has a grown son who probably says to her that he's sad because he can't see his son. That makes her feel protective. Do you understand? There's a story which is the underpinning of this,
actually, my son
of this lawsuit. You're going to have to move. And the faster you do it, the faster you're going to be able to enjoy your life. Do you get it?
Yes.
Otherwise, there's going to be constant
It's not all
aggravation.
that easy just to pick up and move.
It's not all that easy. Have the last 4 years been easy?
No.
Your son's 9 years old. It's not as if he's a junior in high school that he has to reacquaint with friends when he's a junior and he's going to graduate. He's 9 years old. He'll adjust to a new school. You want peace? Move. Lawsuit's dismissed. Thank you. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out, ma'am. Wait here.
Kevin Sardin is suing his former friend, 21-year-old Megan Foote, for crashing his car while making a beer run. Megan claims the accident was a result of faulty steering.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 168 on the calendar in the matter of Sardin versus Foote.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Sardin, you allowed the defendant to borrow your car. She took your car. She totaled your car. You want it fixed or replaced.
Yes.
Ms. Foote says that you loaned her your car. She did total your car. It was your car's fault, and she's counterclaiming for the pain and suffering she endured when your car was in an accident. What kind of car was this?
The Lexus ES300,
What year?
1993.
How long have you had it?
About 7 to 8 years.
Have you had any trouble with the car?
No.
Has the car ever been in an accident?
No.
You have it serviced regularly?
Yes.
And it has never been in a reported accident other than this one?
No.
Tell me about the circumstances surrounding your loaning Miss Foote the car.
She was supposed to go to the store.
Where were you first?
We was at a mutual friend's house. We was there for a birthday party for a little kid. I had showed up later on, and then...
What date was it?
March 17th, 2007.
And I assume you knew her before?
Yes.
How long have you known each other?
For about 1.5 years, closer to.
Just friends?
Yes.
Great. Okay, so go.
So I had let her borrow my car. She was supposed to go to the store. Now, in order...
Did she ask you to borrow the car?
Actually, we had needed to go on a store run, and I did not feel like going out. I had just came back from driving all day, so I did not feel like going out, so I had let Megan borrow the car.
Well, tell me how it came about.
We was talking, we was in a room, and then everybody was like, we need to go to the store. So I'm like,
What did you have to get?
We had to get cigarettes and beer.
Okay, go ahead.
And then I had let her borrow the car.
I still haven't heard how that came about. Somebody said we need cigarettes and beer.
Okay,
And?
we was talking, everybody was talking. I'm sitting there saying, I'm not going to the store. So then she has said, I'll go to the store, you know I'm good. And I said, Meg, I said, are you sure you straight? She was like, Cal, I'm good. So I let her borrow the car.
Oh, okay. So everybody had been drinking,
No, not everybody, no.
but you asked her whether she was okay.
Yes.
Anybody been doing drugs that evening?
No.
Smoking a little?
No.
Just beer?
Yes, beer and cigarettes.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so then she had asked me to borrow the car to go to the
To
store.
go. She said, I'll go.
Yes.
And I'm good.
Yes.
Which means that she was
Yes.
together enough to go.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So then she went to the store, and now from the house that we was at to go to the store, it takes about 10 to 15 minutes to go to the store and back. So I had noticed my car hadn't been back in about a half an hour, so then I started to worry. And then so I had started to eat me some soup, and then after I finished the soup, I had noticed that my car still wasn't back. And then so one of my friends, female friends, had came over, and she was like, are you still waiting for your car? And I said, yes. And she was like, well, I think your car might have been involved in an accident up the block. And I was like, oh, no. So then I hopped in my front.
Okay, and you found the car. Whatever. All right, you didn't witness the car accident, but you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
Were you on your way to the store or from the store?
I was on my way from the store.
On your way back to the party?
Yes.
And what did you have in the car?
I had actually gone to pick up my roommate, and he was supposed to pick her up from work that evening. He had gotten intoxicated and forgot.
Who?
She had Calvin.
Was supposed to pick up your friend?
Yes.
Your Honor.
Fine. What about this beer and cigarette run?
We had gone to pick up cigarettes at the store.
Who did?
Me and my roommate.
So first you picked up your roommate.
Correct.
And then you went to pick up beer and cigarettes.
Cigarettes. There was
Just
no
cigarettes?
beer to be picked up. No.
How old are you?
I'm 21.
And then you were on your way home.
We were on our way back to the party.
How far from the party were you? About a block?
Probably a minute to 2 minutes away. A few blocks.
So tell me what happened.
I was driving. The steering had malfunctioned. Let me get over here. The steering had malfunctioned probably about around here, where the car had gone into the mailbox. One of my passengers that was sitting in the front passenger seat had stated that I was going to hit a mailbox.
Don't tell me what anybody stated to you.
So the car swerved this way. It had swerved back to the other side of the road. Then it went over to the other side again and had gone up on the grass, hit the telephone pole, and that's about all I remember because I was knocked unconscious.
You have a driver's license?
Yes, I do.
You have a car?
Not at the time, no, I did not have a vehicle.
Did you ever have a vehicle?
Yes.
What happened to the car?
I had sold it because of personal issues.
Sold it why?
I had been going, I'm a single mother, and I was more concerned about caring for my child at the time. The car was not in my expenses. It wasn't in my means at the time, so I sold the vehicle so I was able to accommodate my son as properly needed.
You work?
Yes, I do.
How do you get to work?
I have a vehicle now. I went and purchased a vehicle about a couple months ago.
This happened in March.
Correct.
A couple of months ago is April, May.
Right. I purchased the vehicle in May.
When had you sold your other vehicle?
That was, what, November of 2006?
From November until 2006 until May, what did you do?
I had family members helping me out. My brother lent me his car every now and then.
Well, how did you get to work every day?
I would have my family members drop me off to work.
Who do you live with?
I live with my roommate.
She talks very, very fast on her feet.
Yana, can I
But I don't believe everything that you're saying to me. You understand that?
Yes, I do.
You understand that? You know, because if something doesn't make sense, there's always that slight hesitation.
Right.
So you can always tell when somebody is giving you a line.
Right.
Making things up as they're going. You understand what I'm saying to you?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. Okay, where's the car now?
The car is totaled.
Totaled?
Yes, and I have pictures also right here showing
like
that it's
to see
totaled. And also I have an invoice from the place where it was totaled at, stating that it was a total loss.
Well, it certainly is a total loss. Did you replace it?
No.
You know what the blue book is on it?
Yes. I have it right here.
I'd like to see it.
There we go, right there. And also, Your Honor, just to make you aware, in that area, it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone, and I have pictures of that showing that it's a 30-mile-per-hour zone.
I'd like to see that.
Yes.
Because this wasn't a 30-mile-per-hour accident.
No way.
Now, how fast were you going?
To be honest with you, I don't really recall, but I was never given a speeding ticket.
Were you taken to the hospital?
I refused the ambulance ride because I didn't know what kind of situation he had as far as insurance. I didn't want to put him into
Just a second.
financial debt.
What, are you kidding me? You didn't go to the hospital because you probably had a high blood alcohol level.
I was never given a sobriety test.
I didn't ask you that.
Also, Your Honor, I have in my police report where it says that she has slid 144 feet.
I see.
Also, if you was doing about 50 miles per hour, you would have been able to stop at around 175
Well, you don't have
feet.
any expert testimony. She doesn't have any expert witness, do you? Are you a mechanic?
No, ma'am.
You're the friend. You're not a mechanic, are you? You have any proof that there was something wrong with his car?
No, I do not. Your Honor?
What?
I do have an eyewitness that was in the vehicle with me that saw the steering malfunction and lock up on me.
Before or after you slammed on the brakes?
Before.
Oh, really? Love to hear that witness. Love to hear that witness.
Do I stand up?
Are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? The question is...
I was there.
Are
and
you
I did
sure
see
you want to do this, is my
Yeah.
question. Fine.
Yes.
Over here. Your last name?
Rosado.
Miss Rosado, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
Went to work and I was like, you know what, there's a birthday party, I can go to the party after work.
I said, what arrangements had you made to go to the party?
She was gonna come pick me up.
Now, what would possibly give her the impression that he was supposed to pick you up?
He had told me that day, he had dropped me off that morning to work.
Was there anything wrong with the car?
Not that morning.
How many times has he taken you to work?
A couple of times.
How many is a couple? A couple is 2.
Maybe 4 or 5 times.
How many other times have you been in his car?
A lot of times.
Ever had any steering problems?
One time we were in the vehicle and he was like, did you guys feel that? It was his car basically what he was trying to say was his car was messed up when we was in the car.
Don't tell me basically what he was trying to say, madam. Tell me about what happened.
We was in the car one day and we was driving on the highway. I believe they was on the highway. And we was on the highway and he was like, wow, did you guys feel that? He's like, I have to get my car fixed.
When was that?
The day before we had the accident.
But it had nothing to do with the steering.
Maybe not. I'm not sure. I don't know nothing about cars, Yana.
Listen to me. The day before the accident, so he said to you, wow, something's wrong with the car. But yet you got in the car that morning for him to take you to work.
That's true.
Why would you put your life in your hands like that?
Don't know.
Only a stupid person would do that. You're not a stupid person, are you?
No.
Now, you want to tell me what you observed on the 17th of March?
We was in the vehicle. We was driving on Pritchard, which is the road.
How fast were you going?
I don't know, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this. Were you going 30 miles an hour, 40 miles an hour, 60 miles an hour?
I wasn't the passenger. I was in the back seat. I wasn't looking at the speedometer.
You don't have to look at the speedometer to know whether you were going 30 miles an hour or 60 miles an hour.
I wasn't paying attention, Your Honor.
Perfect. Then you can sit down. If you weren't paying attention, I'm not interested in what you have to say. Anything else you wanted to say to me?
Yes. He signed up for an insurance policy where he knew he was only covered for him to drive his vehicle if anything were to happen in a situation like this. My question is, why would you let someone use your car when you know you're not insured if anything were to happen in your vehicle?
The question is whether you were driving negligently.
No, Your Honor, I wasn't.
That was sort of a rhetorical question. There's no question in my mind that you were speeding. Based upon the damage to this vehicle, there's no question in my mind that you were going over and above the speed limit. There's also no question in my mind that you had had something to drink that night. It's irrelevant, therefore, whether or not he had insurance that covered you. And if you got hurt, you shouldn't have driven too fast, and you shouldn't have had anything to drink while you were driving. That's the price that you pay when you act stupid. Meanwhile, you have to replace his car. Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $5,000, that's all.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I think it was an unfair ruling, but there's nothing I could do at this point.
I'm happy with it. I'm very happy.
I was knocked unconscious at the scene. I had serious bruising.
Oh, man, it looked awful. That's all I could say. It was very bad.
I had not been drinking.
It was definitely reckless driving and also speeding.
Screaming, telling me that I was dead to him and all this other nonsense.
I was very upset.
If it was such a good friendship to begin with, it should have never been brought to a level like this. It should have been handled outside of a courtroom.
Hopefully we can move past this, you know. If she doesn't want to, hey, what can I say?
If you allow somebody to live with you for 13 months and do not collect utilities from them on a regular basis, I'm not going to waste my precious time with 2 graduate degrees and go over month-to-month Con Edison bills.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of O'Henley versus Debnam. Step forward.
Brenda O'Henley and her brother Daniel are suing their former tenant, Jared Debnam, for unpaid rent and utilities. Jared says his living arrangements were substandard, so he's not paying.
You are brother and sister, is that correct?
Yes.
You bought a condo together?
Yes, 2 years ago.
You live together?
Yes.
Great. Wonderful.
Yeah.
Get along?
Yep.
Yeah?
Work
For the
together,
most
too.
part.
Fabulous. How much was this condo?
It was $770,000. It's now worth $950,000.
Perfect. So you bought this condo and you did a very foolish thing. You decided to take in a third roommate.
Yes.
That would be you. And according to your complaint, he owes you a whole bunch of money for rent and primarily for rent, utilities. Mr. Debnam says, well, there was never really a formal agreement about him paying so much per month, and he's got a whole host of other problems that he encountered while living with you. You moved a girlfriend in shortly after he moved in, so he didn't feel as if that was right. There was a leak, and some of his clothes got moldy, right?
Correct.
Have you always lived in the United States of America?
Yes, I have.
So you know that this is what we call a free country.
Correct.
If you don't like something, or if you don't like a place where you're living, what can you do?
Choose to move on.
You don't choose to stay, kvetch, and don't pay. You move on to where there isn't a girlfriend, where there isn't a leak, where there isn't mold, but you don't stay and don't pay. Now, you lived there for a year, and you did pay some money in a bulk. You know, you didn't pay it by month because you were sort of not working, whatever. You got a check, and you gave them $4,000.
Well, that was just a part of the check from one of my financial aid checks.
Did you have your own bedroom?
Yes.
Did you have your own bathroom?
No.
Who did you share the bathroom with?
Everybody that used the house. As far as the communal upstairs bathroom, so it wasn't just my bathroom.
And what were you supposed to pay a month?
Before we moved in, I told him, being a graduating senior, that my money was based solely upon receiving periodic financial aid checks, at which time I told him this is how I would be able to pay him whatever money. And so he knew about this situation before.
Tell me what he knew.
He knew that I would be getting financial aid checks each semester.
Fine.
And
So
that
you
from
did
those
get a-
checks, I would pay him what I could towards the money for living at his place.
Without any set amount? So you could have given him, let's say, $500 for 6 months, and that would have been okay.
No, Your Honor. He wanted to pay, or come to a limit to pay $750 a month.
Ah, okay. You know, I knew if you let you talk long enough,
okay.
if I let you talk long enough, eventually we were going to get someplace close to the truth, sir. So, according to you, he wanted $750 a month, which you agreed to pay when you got your financial aid checks.
Correct.
How much did you give him?
A little less than $7,500 total.
So that would be for 10 months. Did he give you $7,500?
Overtime, yes.
So how much do you think he owes you?
I've come up with about $6,000.
For what?
Well, it was $750 plus utilities and a sticker for him to park his car. I actually have a breakdown of the whole payment history that
I don't need the whole payment history. If you acknowledge that he paid you $7,500, that's for 10 months. That means he owes you 3 months' rent, which is $2,250.
Well, do you not include utilities in that?
It does not include utilities,
Our
sir.
agreement included utilities.
Show me in writing.
It was a verbal agreement.
Well, what I'm telling you is, if you allow somebody to live with you for 13 months and do not collect utilities from them on a regular basis, I'm not going to waste my precious time, 2 graduate degrees, and go over month-to-month Con Edison bills. What I'm telling you is, if you got $750 a month from him, Mr. O'Henley, we wouldn't be standing here today.
Exactly.
Okay.
But
And that's exactly what I'm going to give you.
I would
$750 a month for 13 months. He's already paid you for 10, which means he owes you $2,250. Now, is there any reason why I shouldn't enter a judgment in that amount, sir?
Just for the living condition that I was provided with when living at this place. This is why he didn't receive, or what I feel he got paid, the full amount of what I was provided living at this place.
That's why we talked about a free country,
Correct.
Mr. Debnam.
Correct. And so
Free
that
country
was my
means
only
you.
complaint.
Who
I
is
did-
the person that's raising her hand that's irritating
I would
me?
agree. Except for
Who's-
I just didn't have the opportunity.
Who's the person raising their hand that's irritating me?
This is my fiance. And she's the person who lived with me at this place, not lived, but came and stayed at my place. Or not
So
our
it
place,
wasn't
excuse me.
only his girlfriend that stayed. Your
No.
girlfriend stayed too.
I'm sorry.
Just a second.
4 or 5 days a week.
So it wasn't only his girlfriend that stayed. It was your girlfriend that stayed.
My girlfriend would come there every other weekend and spend
So?
the weekend. Correct.
So she stayed. And if she didn't like living there because of the cold and the mold, she wouldn't have come.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
Should have gone to her house. Why not stand there and kvetch, sir, that you didn't like the circumstances and you stayed anyway? Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $2,250. That's all.
Plaintiff Alice Moore is suing her niece, office manager Kimberly Kayla, for having her falsely arrested for an assault. Kimberly is countersuing, claiming Alice broke her arm.
All rise. Yeah, this is case number 22 on the calendar in the matter of Moore versus Kayla.
Thank you, Bert.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in, Your Honor. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat, please.
Whew. Family that certainly does not get along well. Miss Moore, the defendant is your niece.
Yes, ma'am.
And it is your claim that she had you falsely arrested for assaulting her last year during the time that your mother was ill and dying.
Yes, ma'am.
You went through a trial recently and were acquitted.
Yes,
found
ma'am.
not guilty. And you're suing her for the false arrest and for the year that you spent facing these charges. The defendant says that the charges were true and that she is counterclaiming for her injuries. Her injuries, I believe, were broken arm.
Yes, ma'am.
When was your mother ill last year?
My mother became ill early in January, but she really got bad in March of, it was 2003.
And when did this incident occur with your niece?
March the 10th, after I flew to Texas to be beside my mother who was dying at her home.
So you tell me your version of what happened, what led up to this incident.
Saturday afternoon, my sister, Brenda, had instructed me to give medication to my mother every 4 hours without stopping. And it put my mother in a very...
What kind of medicine was it?
One was a morphine and the other one was for anxiety.
Your mother had cancer?
Yes, ma'am.
What kind of cancer did she have?
Cancer of the liver.
So the morphine was prescribed to keep her calm.
Yes, ma'am, but on the prescription of the bottle it says every 4 hours as needed. And my question was, that night she was totally out of it, and my brother he was there that night, and he had to pick my mother up out of the bed because she could not move at all. And we did not give her the medication every 4 hours like my sister had instructed, and I had asked my other sister in the morning about the medication.
So that caused a problem with your niece?
They were all upset because I would not give the medication like that. But anyway, Sunday night, I left and went out to another sister's house to rest. And when I came, that morning on Monday, my daughter and I came back in the afternoon, and I come to the conclusion I couldn't handle seeing my mother's death.
Okay.
Because of my heart condition and my nerves.
Okay, you couldn't handle it. Okay.
And I was talking to my husband on the phone, and I told him he could reach me. I was on the porch, and I told him he could reach me out at my other sister's. Brenda got mad at me, and I don't want to have a consultation with my mother dying.
Why was she angry with you? What was she saying?
She just felt that I was there trying to take over, and she was already had said that she was going to come out there and whip on me on Monday, and I didn't pay any attention to that in a phone call that we had.
Was that over the medication?
Yes.
Is that so far, is that right?
No, ma'am.
Okay, step up. Brenda, what were you angry about?
I wasn't angry with her. I was actually relieved that she was there to help us because we had had 3 months prior of taking care of my mother. Everybody was stressed out. It was a bad time. My sister had called me and she told me that the hospice people had told her not to give my mother the medication except when she needed it. I told her specifically, Alice, when you're there, you do what you need to do. I told her I was calling a meeting with the hospice people on Monday. The whole family would be there. We could all understand. I learned more about death than I ever wanted to know with my mother. And I didn't want to go through this by myself. I wanted my sisters there. I wanted help.
Right.
So when we asked for a meeting, she said 10 o'clock. My sister couldn't be there. She was so concerned about my mother and the medication, but she couldn't be there to see what the hospice people, we were doing exactly what they said, exactly what they said.
Which is medicating her every 4 hours and not letting the pain grab hold of
Right,
Well, and
right.
they told
That's
us,
exactly how they explained it to her,
Right.
to us. You know, when the pain kicks in, this is how she's going to be. Don't let the
Don't
pain
let it
come.
get there.
You know,
Right.
we'd been there with her. We didn't want to let the pain come. Nobody, you know, she was going to die. We knew that. We wanted it to be peaceful.
I got it.
and that was my mother's wish, to die at home.
Kim, tell me what happened in the kitchen on the 10th of March.
Well, I was in the bedroom with my grandmother, and I heard them in the kitchen. And She's telling her, you know, you took her out of the nursing home. You shouldn't have took her out of the nursing home. She's going to die. She's going to bleed. You know, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And they were telling her, then leave. You know, that's fine. If you can't take it,
put your hand down, Ms.
leave.
Moore.
You know. And when I looked outside, she was slapping at my mother. And another one of my aunts stepped in. Well, she grabbed her and she threw her down to the floor. Alice threw my other aunt down to the floor. Her name was Billy.
Go ahead.
And then of course, I had walked in there in the middle of this, and my brother walked in, and she started screaming at my brother. And she was screaming obscenities that you would not believe. And she was, you know, then she started out the door, and my brother went out after her. Well, I went out after him. Then she coming out there, and she's telling me, you know, we need to just call an ambulance for Billy, you know, we need to just go. So I'm going back in the house, and I get the phone to call the police. And as I walk back outside, because I'm hearing screaming now back at the porch. And I'm like, well, I thought she was going to leave. She wasn't leaving. And it's because her daughter over there was telling her, you don't have to leave. They can't make you leave. This is your mama's house. You don't have to leave. You know, her daughter was put in the quarter. And she knows if you push her, she's going to lose it. You know, she has a history of violence and just psychotic behavior. And I look at her and I told her, just go, just get that out of here. You know, that's why I told her, just get that. And I'm pointing at her, and as I'm pointing at her, she grabs this arm, and she pulls me down. Her daughter steps between us, and she popped my arm down over her daughter's shoulder. It broke this bone up here into pieces. They had to go in and put a rod, you know, have a permanent rod in the middle of my bone.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I was leaving and they attacked me. They didn't take my statement. The police didn't let me give a statement. My lawyer will testify to that. Why don't you call her?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Alice Moore says her niece, Kimberly Kayla, had her falsely arrested for an assault. Kimberly says during an argument, Alice broke her arm.
What happened to Billy?
Billy was taken to the hospital also, and she had some sciatic nerve damage in her back.
She was taken to the hospital that day?
Yes. Okay. But Billy and I were both taken to the same hospital in the same ambulance.
What hospital?
To Spine Memorial Hospital.
Do you have a police report for me, please?
Yes.
It's right there.
Okay, Ms. Moore, coming back to you. Now we're going to come to the point in this story where you're going to tell me your version of how her arm got broken.
Well, first of all, there was a consultation in the house, and Brenda held me and Kim, and I have a sworn testimony from the court where my attorney said, and you slapped her, and she said yes. At that time, she hit me.
Just a second. Who slapped you?
Kim hit me in the face with the telephone while my sister held me in the kitchen and would not let me leave.
Let me see the testimony. Oh, well, she says, do you remember slapping Alice? She said, yeah. I told you in the kitchen when she was pulling my hair and we were going back and forth. And you slapped her? Yes.
But, Judge, I could not be pulling her hair.
Just a minute. Don't explain. You have to read me the whole thing, Miss Moore.
Okay.
She didn't just admit slapping you. She said you were pulling her hair and you were going back and forth and she slapped you.
At the time she slapped me, I had my hands restrained by my sister Brenda.
I would like you to tell me how her arm got broken.
Well, from there, I went outside and was leaving. At that time, her brother stopped me from going to the car. He pounced over the porch and pulled his hand back to hit me. And you're looking at a guy, I wouldn't take my eyes off because he lifts weight and he could have killed me. And he said all kinds of things to me as I was trying to leave. My daughter stood in between us to stop it.
Okay, so your daughter got in between you and her brother.
Right.
Okay.
And as I was looking for my granddaughter, Kim.
Just a second. If your daughter got in between the two of you, why didn't you go back to your car?
I was going, but my granddaughter had the keys to my car.
Where were you looking for her?
Right there, but right there in front of my mother's house.
Well, you just have to look. How old is your granddaughter? Is she a little teeny girl?
Yes.
How old is she?
I thought she was about 11 or 12. That's what she looks like.
How old?
She just turned 18, Judge.
So she was 16 at the time?
15. She hadn't turned 16 yet.
15 at the time. Well, you're not looking for her on the ground, madam. Listen to me. If you're looking for your granddaughter who's outside, and the people who are outside, according to you, your nephew, and your daughter, that's 3 people. That's who you told me were outside, and you were looking for your granddaughter around that area. That
And
doesn't make
Kim
sense to
came
me.
off the porch, charged off the porch with something and hit me in the face, and I could not see. I put my hands up, and I have pictures of where she hit me in the head, and I couldn't see at that time.
Just a second. Hold on a second. Show me the pictures that you have. I don't see anything wrong with your head now.
I had a goose egg right here.
Now, not according to the police report.
The police did not come and check me out at all or anything. I went to the hospital, to the emergency room.
Let me see the medical records from the hospital. According to the police report, when they spoke to you, there was nothing wrong with you, except you were complaining of chest pains. That's according to 2 police officers. Listen to me. That's what the police said you complained of. Not a goose egg on your head, not being hit on your head. They took you to the hospital for observation because, listen to me, because of the chest pains. What I want you to do is give me the hospital record.
I don't have that part.
Well,
that
that's what
I could not get that part in time for court today.
Well, that's unfortunate because you've had over a year to get that hospital record. Who are you?
I'm her husband, Your Honor.
Were you there?
I talked to her at 7 o'clock.
He was on the phone when I went in to tell him I was leaving.
She was leaving.
Were you there?
No, I wasn't.
My daughter Frankie was there.
Oh, I believe Frankie was there. You can step up, Frankie. I believe you were there.
Yes, ma'am.
How did your cousin's arm get broken?
By her brother yanking her arms. When she had my mother's head, she grabbed my mother by her left with Kim's left hand, by her hair, yanked her head over where she's completely bent over. My mother's face is touching the cement. Kim's brother runs from behind Kim and grabs Kim with his arms like this, and he's pulling her, and she's hitting my mother upside the head with a cordless phone in her right hand, and I grab at the phone, and Scott is pulling Kim at both of her arms backwards. No one touched her arms except for her own brother.
Okay, fine. You can sit down. It's very unfortunate when everybody gets stressed out in a situation where...
What was unfortunate?
I'm speaking. It's very unfortunate when people get stressed and angry because somebody who's close to them is dying. And put the picture down, madam. Pay attention to me. The first mistake that you made was not listening. Your mother was dying of liver cancer. The instructions that you were given to give her morphine every 4 hours were the appropriate instructions. I am not a medical person, but unfortunately I have been in situations where I know that you're not supposed to wait until you are in pain as needed when you are dying. You're supposed to keep medicated so that the pain of liver cancer doesn't take hold. So these people were taking care of your mother for months before you got there. And then pay attention, try to get it through. And then you come to the scene and decide, this isn't right. The medication says as needed. I'm not going to give her the medication every 4 hours. And everybody is annoyed at that situation because you're sort of a Johnny-come-lately. They've been there for months taking care of the situation, making decisions without you. They took care of, they were the ones who were up at night, they were the ones who were feeding, and all of a sudden you show up and decide to change the rules. Big mistake. You weren't saving your mother's life, Miss Moore. She was going to die. I'm speaking. She was going to die anyway. The question was she going to die peacefully and not in pain ever? Or whether you were going to try, your method of treatment was let her get a little bit uncomfortable and then we'll give her the medication as needed. Unfortunately, you made a mistake in your choice. I do not believe your daughter when your daughter says that you were beaten over the head with a phone, because there is nothing in any of the official records, including hospital records, which you had every opportunity to get over the last year and a half, that suggests that when you were admitted to the hospital for your chest pains, they noted bruising and swelling on your head that would be consistent with your being hit over the head repeatedly, according to you, and according to your daughter, with a cell phone. So I do not believe you were falsely charged. And I believe you broke her arm.
Oh, ma'am,
I believe that you... I'm speaking.
I did not. I was leaving and they attacked me. Okay. That's all I was doing was leaving.
You may have convinced you, Miss Moore. You may have...
I didn't care about what medicine they gave Mother. They attacked me. They didn't take my statement. The police didn't let me give a statement. My lawyer will testify to that. Why don't you call her?
Listen to me. I don't want to go any further with this, Miss
Moore,
because I'm speaking. I'm speaking. I'm speaking. Speak.
I swear I did not.
Listen to me very carefully.
The Bible, I took a lie detector's test even, and I did not touch them.
Your case is dismissed. Did you have any unreimbursed medical bills?
Yes, ma'am.
What were they? Unreimbursed medical bills.
I have $7,000 right here.
Judgment for the defendant on the counterclaim in the amount of $5,000. That's all. Step out.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
18-year-old student Ashley Weiss is suing her ex-fiancé, 20-year-old parking attendant David Sellers, for a cell phone bill. David says he let Ashley keep the engagement ring.
Order. All rise. That's case number 18 on the calendar in the matter of Weiss versus Sellers. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Gentlemen, have seats.
Miss Weiss, you and Mr. Sellers were engaged to be married. You are no longer engaged. You are no longer involved. You claim he owes you some money.
Yes.
Mr. Sellers says he owes you absolutely nothing. And if you think he owes you some money, sell the engagement ring. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
Good. When did you become engaged?
In December of 2004.
Just in my own curiosity, when did you buy her the ring?
In December.
What kind of a ring did you buy her?
Engagement ring.
Cheap one.
Well, let me see it.
You want to see it?
Wearing it, I wouldn't.
Little ring.
What?
Can I have a tissue, please?
Why, who's chewing gum? Both of them?
You gonna give me a piece of tissue or what? Thank you. You got gum? No. Cool. All right. Here you are.
Thank you. Oh, that's a very sweet ring. Tell me about when he gave you the ring.
He proposed to me on Christmas and asked me to marry him. He just said, "Will you marry me?" And just gave me the ring.
He handed you the box?
Yes.
When you opened it up, were you excited? Is not an answer.
No, I was not. I was hesitant and felt uncomfortable since he did it in front of his family. And I felt like I didn't have a choice of whether to say. Felt pressured to marry him.
Well, did you wear the ring on New Year's Eve?
I did.
Were you still with his family?
Yes.
Did you wear the ring until you broke up?
I took it off once I got home.
When did you get home?
I think it was January 4th.
When did you break up?
A couple weeks after. He wanted me to move with him to Oklahoma, drop out of school, and start a family with him, and work part-time for the rest of my life. And I decided that wasn't
That wouldn't have been very smart.
Yeah.
Mr. Sellers, for her to do that. How much did you pay for this ring?
$750.
You know he's entitled to the ring back, don't you?
Yes. He told me, I asked him, and he said I could keep it. But I think it's only fair if I give him his ring back, I get my money.
that he owes me.
Well, is that right?
Yes.
Hey! Look at this happy ending.
I know.
Well, so that would be wonderful, right?
would,
You wouldn't
yeah.
mind if you got back the ring and let's say you could sell it. She's claiming a loan, $300 loan because you went to Oklahoma. Is that where you live?
Yes.
It's her claim that this was a loan that she gave you to go to Oklahoma so that you could buy clothes and traveling expenses and that sort of thing. And you said, well, you went together. You both spent money.
Yes.
Is that right?
No.
He didn't spend any money?
No, he got kicked out of the Navy, so therefore he had no money because he was broke.
Well, where did he get the money for the ring?
That's from his old checks, like his previous checks, and he stopped getting paid once he got kicked out.
When did you get kicked out of the Navy?
December of '04.
How come?
Drug use.
Went AWOL.
Didn't like the Navy anymore?
Dishonorable.
Okay. Would you kindly give him back the ring? Now you have the ring. And you can sell it, right?
Yes.
Now, telephone.
Yes.
Let me hear about the telephone.
He didn't have any money. He said he needed a phone. I bought him a brand new phone. He said, I promise I will pay you back. I will pay for the bills once I get my feet on the ground and start getting a job in Oklahoma.
Did you get your feet on the ground?
Kind of.
What do you mean, kind of?
I had a part-time job.
So he never got his act together.
He did actually pay the bills for the first couple of months, but then stopped paying them.
And he canceled the service.
Yes, he changed, which also added a deactivation fee because he had to switch. He switched the telephone company.
How old are you, Miss Weiss?
19.
Who is this gentleman?
This is my father, and that's my classmate, Lorenzo.
I want you to consider yourself very, very fortunate. Because, you know, you could have actually moved to Oklahoma.
I
know. Working part-time, raising a whole mess of kids, no education. Got to look up and say, thank you, God. You were watching over me. All it cost you was a couple of $100.
Yeah.
Right? Mm-hmm. Okay. Did you pay your own phone bill?
For a couple months.
What happened?
Well, I lost
Well
my
is not an
job.
answer, Mr. Sellers.
I lost my job and I couldn't pay for it, and I tried to pay half of it because it was up to $300, and I paid $150 of it. So I just never got around to pay the rest of it.
Well, you think that that's right, or you agreed to pay for it? Hmm?
It's not right.
Now you got the ring. You're going to sell the ring. How much do you owe her for the phone bill that you didn't pay?
I'm not really sure how much exactly.
Well, she's going to tell me.
$500.
What?
Over $500.
Really? Let me see.
I don't have the bills. I know.
Listen to me, my dear.
Yes.
You filed a complaint in which you say that you loaned him $300 that he used for these travel necessities, which I'm discounting.
Okay.
Put your hand down, sir. You can't help her. She's
Sorry,
got to
Your
do
Honor.
this mess by herself. She's got to get out of it by herself. Maybe she'll learn a good lesson if she gets out of it by herself. So, you have to get the bills. You don't have the bills. How am I supposed to know? He doesn't know what the phone bill is, and you don't know what the phone bill is. That's the first thing that you know. You come to court, and you're supposed to have evidence. If you don't have evidence, I can't help you. Now, you changed phone carriers.
Yes.
Do you know that there's a penalty for that?
No, I did not know that.
He knew.
What was the fee for disconnecting the service?
$175.
Does that sound about right, Bert?
Sounds about right to me.
And I assume, again, you do not have any proof of that. What did you come here with other than your smile?
I don't know.
I don't understand. I really don't understand, Miss Weiss. You want to say something, sir? You're dying to say something, so stand up. I mean, you are the responsible person. You're the person who's been through life, who has certain life experiences. You know when you come to court, you come with?
Evidence, Your Honor.
So?
We attempted to get a copy of the phone bill because of the other party lived in Oklahoma. The phone bill came to Oklahoma and never came to our house in San Diego. There was a $405 balance on the phone and a $175 cancellation fee that Verizon's coming after us for. And we feel that the other party should pay for the phone because he used it.
I absolutely agree with you,
But
sir.
we don't have evidence.
It's the evidence. Now, how much do you believe you owe her on the telephone bill? I'm trying to be as fair to you, Miss Weiss, as I can. You're young, not too swift. How much do you think you owe, Mr. Sellers?
All of it.
How much?
600 and however much.
She didn't say it was $600, Mr. Sellers. I mean, it's absolutely impossible for me to fly blind. You said the phone bill was $500. He said, I owe all of it, $600. I mean, it's stupid. It just changed. Take the ring out of your pocket. Then you put it in the other pocket. Dig deeper. Bird, would you give her back the ring, please? Just changed my mind. Now, Miss Weiss, this is what you're going to do. He got taken when he spent $700 for that ring, but there's no question in my mind that you could probably sell it for $3. So sell the ring. I'm going to give you $250 in addition to the ring to help defray the cost of this phone bill. Do you understand?
Yes.
Is that fair, sir?
Yes.
Perfect. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
He's broke, no education, no job. Basically, what was there good about him?
We really don't talk to each other anymore.
He's stupid.
She agreed to it. It was her idea, too.
Don't be nice and don't help out someone when they're not going to help you out.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Whitmer versus Griffin. Step forward, please.
28-year-old hairdresser Lori Whitmer is suing her ex-boyfriend, ambulance builder Dewan Griffin, for loans to pay his court fines and to reinstate his driver's license.
Miss Whitmer, it is your claim that Mr. Griffin owes you some money for court-related matters.
That is correct.
Mr. Griffin says that everything that you ever gave him, they were gifts.
Gifts.
Gave him, and there were no loans. There was never any intention to repay you, nor an agreement to repay you. When did you meet him?
December 2003 through some friends of mine at a party that we were having.
And when did you make the first loan?
Well, we were seeing each other up until September of 2004. We were still talking, you know, on an on-off basis, and then I got a call.
So you were casually seeing each other? You never lived together? There was never any discussion of marriage? It was just a casual relationship?
Yes.
Okay. September 2004.
I had gotten a call. He was locked up in jail.
For what?
For driving without a license.
You were locked up for driving without a license, Mr. Griffin?
Yes, ma'am.
How long were you locked up?
5 months.
Shh. Please. Mr. Griffin, that's impossible, sir.
It's not impossible. That's why I was there.
Well, why don't you tell me the story of how you got locked up for 5 months for driving without a license?
Well, I had warrants for tickets that I hadn't paid.
Ah, now we're getting somewhere. So you had outstanding warrants for what kinds of tickets?
Driving without a license.
How many, please? I don't want to have to say it again. Don't make my job any more difficult. How many times were you stopped for driving without a license, Mr. Griffin?
Maybe 3, 4.
You don't learn?
Yeah, I do learn. I have a driver's license now since I got out.
Well, how old were you the first time you got stopped for driving without a license?
19.
And why didn't you have a license?
Because they were suspended.
What was the reason your license was suspended?
Because I had a speeding ticket that I didn't pay.
All right. You see how we're going to get to this? You see how we're understanding each other now, Mr. Griffin? So you didn't spend 5 months in jail because you were stopped for driving with a suspended license, because they don't do that in this country. They do it, sir, if you get caught 5, 6, 7 times driving without a license, and you've got outstanding warrants for speeding tickets which you didn't pay, and outstanding warrants for the other driving while suspended that you didn't respond to, then eventually the criminal justice system has it up to here with you. And that's what happened, right?
Right.
Good. So you were an habitual person who flaunted the criminal justice system by not showing up, by not paying your fines, and by continuing to drive without a license.
I wasn't habitual.
Habitual means that you do it all the time, sir, and habitual is what you were.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Why didn't you ask the mother of your children for the money?
Because she has my 2 sons. She needs whatever she already has.
Well, who does she take care of?
She was taking care of me.
Why would she want to take care of you, Mr. Griffin?
I don't know.
I don't know either.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Lori Whitmer says ex-boyfriend Dewan Griffin owes for loans to pay court fines after his 6th arrest for driving on a suspended license.
Now, how much did you put up for him to get out of jail?
$947.
That was bail?
No, he was in a work release base, so they were taking money out weekly towards those fines, and then this was towards like a one lump sum so that he can get his license back and to get out sooner.
Okay, now I want you to think back when you went to court, because you were picked up on warrants periodically, is that right?
I have been before.
And you remember going before the judge?
Yes.
And you remember telling the judge that you were going to come back to court, you weren't going to warrant anymore, right?
Yeah.
And you remember telling the judge that you wouldn't drive anymore with a suspended license?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
How many times did you tell that to judges when they picked you up?
Like I said, I've been there 3 or 4 times.
So each time you told that to the judge that you were going to report to court, and that was a lie, because you didn't, because you had warrants, right?
Right.
And you said that you would not drive with a suspended license. Is that right?
Yeah.
And you continued to drive with a suspended license, right?
Yep.
So you lied to the judge.
Yeah.
And when you lied to the judge, Mr. Griffin, you had previously raised your right hand and sworn to tell the truth. Is that right?
Right.
But you didn't tell the truth, right?
It wasn't intentional, but that's the way it worked out.
You mean somebody drugged you and put you behind the wheel of a car, Mr. Griffin?
No.
You mean at the time that you made the statements to the court, you intended to keep your promise?
Yes.
But some little men that play in your head, you know, they forced you to get behind the wheel of a car and break your promise.
I had to go to work. I had no other way to get there. I have kids to take care of.
You have children to take care of. Do you live with your children?
No.
How many children do you have?
2.
How old are they?
6 and 7.
And you pay child support, sir?
Yep.
How much child support do you pay?
$77 a week.
They take it out of your salary?
Yep.
When you were in jail for 5 months on work release, how much did they take out of your salary for child support?
They didn't, but...
Right. So for 5 months, your kids sort of went on hiatus.
No. I was out every day. I paid myself. I gave money to my children's mom.
How much did you give her?
Probably $2,000, $3,000.
You believe that?
I don't know.
Mr. Griffin, there is no question that Miss Whitmer bailed you out so that you could get out. And then she gave you some more money. How much more money did she give you, Mr. Griffin?
$600 maybe.
How much?
$390.
And what was that for, Miss Whitmer?
To help him reinstate his license.
And how did that come about that he needed another $390?
March 3rd, he came to my job. He was dropped off, and he asked me if I would drive him to go to this insurance company to reinstate it.
What did you go to her for?
Because she offered to pay it for me.
When had you called her to tell her you were coming, and could she make a gift to you of this $390? When had you called her?
She'd known for months that
Don't tell me what she knew. I asked you when you called her, because you wouldn't have gone there, sir.
That morning.
Did he call you that morning?
I believe so that morning, but I didn't know he was coming to my job.
What did he say when he called you in the morning?
That he was wanting to go take his test and just the appointment times and stuff like that, but he didn't say he was being dropped off to go and reinstate it.
He didn't say anything about money?
Not that I recall, no.
When you got there, Mr. Griffin, to her job, she drove you to pay this money?
Yeah, but to say that I just came there and out of the blue sprung up, I need some money when we're at the insurance company, that's not the way it happened.
Well, tell me how it happened, Mr. Griffin.
She knew I didn't have all the money. I called her and told her.
What did you call her and tell her for?
Because she was willing to help me pay it.
No. Why did you call her and tell her?
Because I needed more money.
Why didn't you get another job?
Why didn't I get another job?
That was my question.
I didn't need another job.
You did need another job if you didn't have more money.
I didn't need another job because she was willing to pay for it.
Why didn't you ask the mother of your children for the money? She's closer to you. You made 2 babies with her.
Because she has my 2 sons, she needs whatever that she already has.
Well, who does she take care of?
She was taking care of me.
Why would she want to take care of you, Mr. Griffin?
I don't know.
I don't know either. Who do you live with?
I take care of my 2 sons and a sick mom of mine.
Just a second. You have 2 children?
2 boys.
How old are they?
5 and 2.
Mr. Griffin, are you a lowlife?
No way.
Yes, you are. Mr. Griffin.
Yes.
Let me tell you why you're a lowlife. Because you just said to me, Mr. Griffin, The mother of my 2 children needs all the money that she can get because she takes care of my 2 children.
What's wrong
So
with
that's why I'm not calling her. Why do you think, sir, that this young lady who has 2 children needs money any less than the mother of your 2 children?
Because she was always willing to give it to me.
You're a lowlife.
I'm not.
You are.
I'm not.
And a taker. And I don't see what she sees in you, sir. Certainly it's very well hidden to me. But you owe her $1,337 because she bailed you out. Next time, if you need money, Mr. Griffin, get another job. You're supposed to do the right thing, and you're not supposed to take advantage of people. Do I make myself clear, sir?
Sure.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
5-year-old promoter Brian Manthorn is suing former client, surgical admitter Joanne Morante, for the unpaid balance on a ski weekend. Joanne says the trip was a disaster and she's not paying. She is countersuing for pain and suffering.
Now, this is case number 11 on the calendar in the matter of Manthorn versus Morante. Parties have been sworn in. Judge, you may be seated, sir. Have a seat.
Mr. Manthorn, you are an event planner, according to what I read in your complaint.
Yes, Your Honor.
You plan different kinds of trips.
I'm actually a club promoter, not an event coordinator.
Well, but you were planning trips.
Yes.
This particular event was a trip.
Yes.
Mrs. Morante wanted to plan a weekend with some friends, and she answered your ad. Your ad was for what kind of a weekend, Miss Morante?
Freestyle ski trip.
What does that mean?
Freestyle is a type of music, like classical or disco. It's a certain type of music.
Would somebody my age like that kind of music?
Not at all.
You answered that very fast, Miss Morante. Do you know what freestyle music is?
I have no idea.
Can you hum something in freestyle?
No, I don't really want to.
Okay. Anyway, and that was the ad that you placed, is that right?
Yes, Your Honor.
And you signed up, you gave them a deposit?
Correct.
And how much was the deposit?
$250. $50 per girl. There were 5 girls.
2 days? Saturday,
yes,
Sunday?
From Friday night arrival, Sunday morning departure.
So 2 nights?
Correct.
Okay. And she paid you?
Yes, she did.
She went on the weekend eventually, even though the date was changed.
The ski trip that I had promoted for was canceled. The date wasn't changed. The freestyle event was canceled for that weekend.
That I never knew about. Okay. Until now, today.
Shh. That was canceled.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you planned something else. Why was that canceled?
Okay, it was canceled due to the lack of people. We couldn't get people to go on the ski trip weekend.
Because nobody knows what it is. So then you planned something else.
No. What I did, I put them on a different ski trip for the following weekend.
Without our knowledge.
Well, just a second. You planned something else for them.
I gave them an alternative. I gave them 2 alternatives. I gave them alternative number 1 was give them their deposit of $250 back.
That's a lie.
Shh.
Or I could put them on the second week.
Just a second. Shh, listen to me. She gave you the $250.
She mailed it to me, the deposit of $250.
Okay. So you had her address.
Yes, I did.
Can I see the letter that you sent her indicating that you were canceling the freestyle weekend, but you were giving her 2 options? Can I see that letter?
There was no letter.
Stop. That's all I wanted.
Thank you.
There was no letter. But one way or another, you got on this second weekend that they had planned, you and 4 friends.
Me and 3 other girls.
You and 3 other girls.
One was soon to be my sister-in-law.
Please, I don't need that information.
Okay.
I have a very, very busy day today. And you say it was a trip from hell.
It was a disaster.
Can I see the ad for the weekend?
The original that I picked up?
The original.
This is the original.
The original? That's the only one that he's got? Because...
No, I received the second one.
Oh, you did receive it?
At the hotel.
Oh, okay. Not before you went?
Not before I went.
Okay. So tell me, now this looks like a very nice promotion.
Yes.
This is what you've sent out, right?
Yes, I was sub-promoting for that, yes.
Good. And what you're suing for, sir, is she stopped payment on the $940.
Yes, she did, and I have the check right here.
I believe you. She doesn't deny it. She says that it was a disaster. So I'm going to hear her. Okay. Tell me why it was a disaster.
Okay. Prior to leaving for the trip, Brian changed the dates on us 1 week in advance.
You went. You didn't have to go.
Okay.
You went.
We went to the bus location with him saying that he was going to meet us there Friday evening at about 6 p.m. with about 4 or 5 buses waiting to hurl 500 people up to this freestyle music weekend. There's no Brian. There's only 2 buses. We were not on any kind of list, my name or any of the girls that were with me, to get on the bus. We had to sit there and talk to people that did not know who we were.
So
what we
you first had a problem with the
getting on
organization.
bus. Right.
You finally got on a bus.
We finally got on a bus. The minute we sat down, we smelled marijuana. We refused to sit on a bus with marijuana for our health reasons, and we weren't planning this kind of ghetto weekend. We were trying to go away to have a nice weekend trip. And this was not something that I would ever be interested in.
Okay.
So we complained. They opened up the vent on the bus and sprayed air freshener. I walked right off the bus with the 3 girls.
Okay.
Called my husband, called Brian. He did not pick up his cell phone. He didn't show up.
What did you do next?
I complained to the bus drivers. I complained to the other promoters who never heard of me, who didn't even know who Brian was, and they told us to
Did you get on another bus?
They made us get on another bus, correct.
Was that bus okay?
That bus had a lot of drinking and cursing. It was better than the marijuana, but it was not acceptable once we were en route.
Did you get to where you were going?
We did, without being able to use the bathroom, all 3 girls.
When you got to where you were going, tell me about the accommodations that you had.
We walked in. People from the first bus were mimicking, saying things to us because we complained about the pot smoking. They were saying we were troublemakers.
I'm not interested in what they were saying about you. I'm interested in the accommodations.
Okay, well, the accommodations was a room that, had 2 double beds. We were, all 4 girls staying in the same room together.
Did you stay?
We stayed in the hotel room with the doors locked, towels under the door because of the marijuana.
You stayed in the hotel?
Correct, we did.
Why didn't you go home?
I had no way of getting home. He came and picked me up, and he cut his bachelor party short because he was in Atlantic City with my brother and the rest of the guys. And he had to drive over 3 hours to come pick me up, and we had to go home with him squished like sardines in a truck, 4 girls and suitcases and everything, because we refused to get back on the bus with the people that was ghetto that we would not want to be around. Going home another 3 hours. We were not allowed to use the bathroom in the bus unless we took alcohol shots from strangers. It's ridiculous.
Listen to me. I don't understand.
You find it funny. I don't think it's funny.
Miss Moranti, listen to me.
You weren't there.
Miss Moranti, listen to me. I don't understand why you would stay in the hotel.
Well, there was.
She's lying, Your Honor.
I'm lying? You weren't even there.
No.
Okay?
Mr. Mann, listen, if you can't behave yourself, that's not going to bode well for your success in this case. Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am.
Were you supposed to be on this trip, Mr. Mann?
I was going, originally I was going to go, but I'm in the National Guard, and I had drill that weekend.
Show me. I believe you're in the National Guard. Show me that you were on a drill that weekend.
My drill assembly schedule was at home, but I let Joanne know and I let Liz know.
No, you did not.
Just a second. Did you tell them before you took their money that you weren't going to be there?
I told them when they came to make the final payment that I wasn't going to be there.
That's a lie. I never made final payment.
Just a second.
She never made final payment with me. Liz came to my place of business and was going to make final payment, and that's when I let them know that the ski trip was canceled, and I would give them 2 options. Option number 1, I'll give them back the deposit.
How much profit did you make on this, sir?
I made $50 off each girl, so I made $200.
And you were the subcontractor?
I was the sub-promoter, yes.
Because you said, I'll get a certain number of bodies for you to go.
Yes.
Is that what you're saying?
That's how it works, yes.
Did you explain that to Miss Moranti, that you were not promoting this, that you were
I told her I was a sub-promoter. The main promoter's on top of the flyer.
And he wasn't there. It was a different company.
Just a second. All I want to know is, did you tell Miss Moranti that this was not something that you were organizing and promoting?
Yes.
You were merely selling that. Is that right?
Yes.
No, he told me he was a promoter, and his phone number's on that card.
If you're going to be fixed with what's in your head and not listen to my question, you're not helping yourself.
Okay, I'm sorry. I didn't hear it or understand.
Because you're not listening, you have to put on your listening ears.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering.
And later today.
What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Promoter Brian Manthorn says former client Joanne Morante owes for the balance on a weekend ski trip. Joanne says the trip was unsafe.
Did the plaintiff ever tell you that he was not in charge of promoting this event?
No, he didn't.
Listening ears. That somebody else was in charge of promoting this event, and all he was doing was providing bodies at $50 a person.
No, he didn't.
Of course not. Don't fib to me, sir.
Your Honor.
Listen to me. Did you tell her that this was not your gig, that you didn't know anything about it, but that you were getting $50 a head for every person that you brought in.
I didn't tell her what I was getting. I told her that I was sub-promoting. Yes, I did. I didn't tell her that I was.
You're
I
a
didn't tell her what I was
Swiftie.
making.
I don't believe you. Did he tell you that? No. Of course not. I don't believe you. That's a fib.
Thank you.
Well, Your Honor, I also have a tape. She's claiming something about the bus ride. I also have a tape that Liz left on my voicemail message about the bus ride. Can I play it?
Absolutely.
Saved voice message.
Hey, what's up? Just wanted to call you that,
Is that
we're
Liz?
a bit happy. They changed us bus, which is much better than what we were before. And what I was trying to tell you before was, like, it was a really, really ghetto, and, like, I don't know, it just felt like weed and stuff, which was, like, I don't know. But, now they changed us to another bus, so much better, so we're, like, more happier. So if anything, I'll talk to you. Sorry, bye.
That's exactly what she said.
Yes, and that was
She
before.
said that the second bus. She said the second bus. She had to drink and everything like that.
That's correct. She used the bathroom.
She
How
said
ghetto.
the second bus was better. Why should she have to tolerate the first bus?
Absolutely, I agree with her 100%.
Good. Then you get nothing. Stick with what you know, sir. It sounds to me like she had a horror show of a weekend. It was so bad that she wouldn't return on the bus back home, and she asked her husband, who will vouch for that, I assume, to cut his weekend short, to come and pick up the 4 girls because they were so put off by what was going on with the bus that they didn't want to take the bus home. Why do you think she would do that if it wasn't miserable?
Because she calls me a con artist.
You are. You are.
Okay, if I'm such a con
You
artist,
are. You
if I'm such a,
You are.
Your Honor, if I'm such a con
You
artist,
are.
if I'm such a con artist, then when she wrote me these checks, I would have cashed them the day of.
That's your problem. I
I never
tell
did
him
that.
when to cash the checks.
Absolutely, she
Your
did.
counterclaim's dismissed.
She absolutely did. She said.
Do you understand?
I guess.
You guess. You know why?
No.
Very easy. Because you have a counterclaim for your pain and suffering. And right
false
now, what you're being to me is a pain. And I'm suffering. Because I already told you that this is a court. And in a court, when I look at you, you testified he was quiet. So your counterclaim is dismissed. That's your punishment.
It's a big punishment.
It is. It absolutely is. So you got $250 deposit. That check went through. Is that right?
Yes, it went through
You
because
got $50 a person for how many people?
for 4 people.
That's $200. That's $450. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
How much money are you out?
I'm out $940 minus 200. So
That's right.
That'd be
That's
7.
That's what you're out. Don't do it again. Stick with what you know. If you con somebody into thinking that they're going to have a great weekend and they have a miserable weekend, there has to be consequences. That's your consequence, $750. Your counterclaim's dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Brian's a con artist. He got what he deserved.
Outrage that somebody can pay for something, spend the whole entire weekend, and still get away with not paying for it.
It was just horrible. It was terrible. There was marijuana going on.
Marijuana use is illegal. She had a choice to get off that bus.
It was out of control, ghetto, something that I would never take part of.
When she seen that it was so ghetto, quote unquote, she could have left. She chose to keep going.
He deceived me from the beginning.
Stay away from prissy girls like that.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Liebhardt versus Malone. Step forward.
19-year-old student Angela Liebhardt is suing her ex-boyfriend, automotive technician Michael Malone, for the return of her furniture and for throwing away her computer. Michael says the computer had a virus.
Ms. Liebhardt, you and the defendant lived together for a brief period of time and claimed that when you moved out, you left some of your stuff there for the defendant to store. You don't want it back anymore. And then there was a computer that Mr. Malone says he got tired of storing and it was broken anyway, so he threw it out. Okay. When did you meet him?
I met him in December of '03.
Where?
At a bar that a friend of mine owns.
How soon did you move in with him?
It was almost immediately.
What does that mean? I mean, that night, the next day?
It was probably about a week or so.
What made you make such a precipitous move?
It was an error in judgment.
Okay. What did you bring with you?
I brought my bed with me. Things were given to me during the relationship. The computer was given to me approximately a month before we broke up.
By whom?
My grandmother.
Was it a new computer?
Yes, brand new.
How old were you when you moved in with him?
18.
How old are you?
29.
29. All right. When you moved out in June?
Yep.
Under what circumstances?
He told me to leave.
Did he say why?
We were done.
You weren't getting along anymore?
Yeah.
Why did you leave the computer?
I was leaving town for a few days, and I asked him if it was okay if I left my stuff there for a few days. He told me it was all right. I could leave it there as long as I needed, and I've attempted to get it back on numerous occasions. and he's never there.
Well, after you left in June, when was the first time that you attempted to get your computer and furniture back?
It was 3 days after I moved out.
Tell me what you did.
I called him up and he wasn't home. And I told him that that's when I would be back in town, is in 3 days.
So you called him up, he wasn't home?
Yes.
So, what'd you do next?
I waited a few days and called him again.
And did you speak to him?
I made an appointment to go and get my stuff with him.
So that was about, let's say, a week later, you made an appointment to go and get your stuff?
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Are you making it up as you're going along, or is that the truth as you remember it?
Angela Leapart says ex-boyfriend Michael Malone threw away her computer. Michael says the computer was junk.
Step up. What is your last name?
Renee Williams.
Okay, Miss Williams, when for the first time did you contact Mr. Malone?
I started attempting to call him in October.
Did you ever speak to him?
There was a couple times. One time we set a time to meet. At that time he had...
To meet to do what?
So that I could get Angela's stuff for her.
What furniture is there?
There is like a china cabinet and like a hutch type thing, like a buffet.
Something that's wooden?
Thing. Yes, 2 wooden things.
Okay. Where are her 2 wooden chests that she has?
They're in the back room at my house.
Okay, you have no objection if she comes and gets those, do you?
No, not at all.
Good. 5 days from today, you may bring a peace officer if you wish. There'll be an order. Those 2 items are to be in the front of the house. Do you understand?
Yes.
5 days from today, 9 a.m. You'll get a formal order of that. With regard to the computer, sir, you're going to have to convince me why you don't owe her $1,073.67 for the computer.
At first, I had no problem with them getting the computer. Then the computer broke, and we were getting ready to move, and it was junk to me. I've had them say, you can come get it, you can do whatever.
Well, at that point, it was junk, sir, because if you were using it, and if it broke while you were using it, you're responsible for it.
He didn't say that we could come get it. First, he told her that it was at his mom's. Then his wife told me that it was stolen, and now he's saying that it's junk.
Step up. Your name?
April Malone.
April? Mm-hmm. Did you ever tell Miss Williams that the computer was stolen?
Yes, that's what I had known that it was. I didn't know that.
What do you mean you had known? That's what you had known that it was. Explain that to me.
I was told that it was stolen. I didn't know that it was broken.
Who told you that it was stolen?
Some of his family members.
What about him? You didn't ask him?
No.
You didn't say to your husband what happened to you? His family members told you it was stolen? April, look at me. She says to you, where's the computer? You say to her, it's stolen.
I don't know anything about the computer. To my knowledge, I knew it was stolen.
Well, just a second. You're living with your husband, right, April?
Yes.
So it had to be your husband that told you it was stolen.
I don't know anything about this. I don't know anything about this relationship.
Are you listening to what I'm saying? I'm not asking you about relationship. Pay careful attention. You don't get off the hook, because I shake it until I get the truth. That if you told her the computer is stolen, you got that from your husband.
I'm not sure who I got it from. I tried resolving this problem. I offered to claim it on our home insurance policy. I called them, and I had called my father-in-law because I did not know who the insurance policy was through. I still don't.
So what did you do? You called your father-in-law and said, I want to know who our insurance carrier is, right?
Yes, I tried that.
Well, you mean you tried? So, did you get an answer?
No, I did not.
Why didn't you get an answer? They don't want to talk to you?
My father-in-law is only home like once a week. He travels.
God. What a con artist. I mean, does she think that we're stupid, that she's going to be able to resolve this issue with those kind of answers?
Hope springs eternal.
Sit down, April. Does it embarrass you to stand up in front of 10 million people and appear to be so foolish?
No.
How many children?
What I could do.
Let me ask you a question. How many children do you have?
I don't have any children.
Try keeping it that way.
I plan on it.
Judgment for the plaintiff in the amount of $1,073.67. 5 days from today, you can go get your property. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
19-year-old Jessica Grossheim is suing her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, 18-year-old Amber Snyder, for vandalizing her car and for assaulting her during a party.
All rise.
Yeah, this is case number 21 on the calendar, the matter of Grossheim versus Snyder.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks have a seat.
Where's the boyfriend? He's your boyfriend. You dated him for a while.
Yeah.
And now the two of you are fighting with each other. Yeah. Isn't that ridiculous? That is so ridiculous. Stand up. How are you related to this case?
She's my daughter.
And this is her boyfriend. Do you like him?
Love him.
Do you love him?
Love him.
Let me see if I love him.
He's a great kid.
Your first name is?
Kevin.
How old are you, Kevin?
I'm 18.
What do you do?
I work at Starbucks. I'm a barista.
When did you graduate from high school?
07.
And how long have you worked at Starbucks?
About 4, maybe 5 weeks.
What did you do before that?
Before that, I was a full-time student at Pierce College.
And what happened?
I needed money and I needed to work, so I cut my time at school so I could work and pay
you go
bills.
to school too?
Mm-hmm.
How many credits are you taking?
Right now, 12.
And you're working at Starbucks to make money?
Yes.
So far, I'm loving him. Who do you live with?
My dad.
Get along okay?
Yeah.
Good. Anybody else live with you?
No.
Just the two of you?
Yeah, I left my mom's house when I was about 13.
And you've been with your dad for the last 5 years?
Yeah.
What college do you go to?
Pierce College.
Do okay?
Yeah, pretty good.
And this is your girlfriend?
Yes.
There came a time when you broke up and you were dating Miss Snyder?
I saw Jessica for about 3 years, from 9th grade through 11th. After that, we broke up for about, I would say maybe a year. In that time, I was best friends with Amber. And then we dated for about, I'd say maybe a week to 2 weeks.
When you say dated, does that mean from being friends you were intimate for about a week?
We were intimate for a little longer than that, but the actual name, girlfriend, boyfriend,
Was a week?
probably, I think it was about a week.
Nothing to build a lifetime on.
No.
And then you went back to your girlfriend.
Yeah, a few months after.
Could do worse? Sit down. It is your claim that Miss Snyder has twice vandalized your car and assaulted you.
Yes.
Miss Snyder says that she did not vandalize your car and that she really doesn't remember the assault because she was too drunk, if I'm reading your answer correctly.
I don't remember who started the fight, but I remember
You remember being in a fight, but you don't remember how it started.
the tussling on the ground.
Okay. Why don't you tell me when your car was vandalized?
It happened twice. And the first time, I believe it happened August 24th or August 25th, one of those.
Of 07.
Yes. I was at my friend Alexis's house, who's here with me right now, and she had some people over. Kevin came, and Amber and I believe Cameron, which is her other witness, dropped Kevin off. And
To drop him off?
Yes. They weren't invited. Amber later came back and picked up Kevin, and in the morning when I woke up, my car was keyed. Everybody at that house, like, I was really good friends with for years.
So you think it was the defendant?
Yes, and everybody, I know they're not here with me right now, but people agree.
I'm a witness.
Is that the only evidence that you have that Miss Snyder keyed your car?
For the keying, yes.
So you understand that that's not sufficient evidence?
Yes.
Okay, so that incident that happened on the 24th or the 25th of August is dismissed. What's next?
Okay, so even prior to that, she was...
Go prior.
Okay, well, after that also, she was calling Kevin, threatening to, my car, to me up if I was around. She wouldn't come anywhere if I was there, and she was complaining that I was stealing all of her friends from her when it was really her who was keeping herself from coming. She actually have MySpace messages that she posted. Would you like to read them? Okay.
I would like to know what this has to do with the second act of vandalism.
Well, she was telling me to watch my back. She was calling me a stupid. She wrote, "I won't hesitate to smash your ugly face in. You seriously hope you should never see me." She admitted that this was about me, said that the next time she sees me, she will make a move. She's not scared of anyone, and everybody knows that she can beat my... We could ask anyone.
Just a second. We get to the second act of vandalism on your car.
Yes, this all ties into it, because this is what she wrote on MySpace, and then it happened. She was calling Kevin constantly, saying, "Why is that car at your house? What is she doing over there?" Like, that happened multiple times.
I understand that she's using some profanity. You don't have to keep using it.
Sorry. So she basically had the motive and the opportunity to mess with my things.
Okay. So that's also, you understand, is not evidence.
Yeah.
Now let's get to the assault.
Well, I guess it ties into what I was telling you before. She actually got in a physical fight with her, Alexis, because she was defending me in this message. And after that, I saw her at multiple parties. Alex, which will probably deny it, came over to me telling me to leave the parties because Amber's threatening to kick my, butt or whatever.
Those aren't my exact words.
No, well, those aren't her exact words, but she was telling me to leave because of Amber. It happened multiple times. I stayed away from her. One party, a whole bunch of her friends were holding her back. She threatened to spit on me.
Would you tell me what happened with regard to the assault, please?
Okay, so the final actual assault that happened.
Date?
March 7th. Yeah, March 7th. One of our friends were having a party, and we were both there, and it was really big. There were lots of rooms, lots of people there. Well, at one point in the night, she walked by me and, pushed me with her shoulder, and I told her not to push me. She got in my face, said she could push me if she wants to. There was some profanity in there. One of my guy friends broke us up. Well, not really broke us up, he just stood to make sure nothing happens. Well, closer to the end of the night, she had ran over to Kevin and was telling him you better take your whatever girlfriend outside. I'm gonna beat her face in, or whatever she was saying. And then Kevin, literally dragged me outside. She ran out there with a bottle of something in her hand. She was in my face. We were both yelling at each other. I told her to put the bottle down, because in the past, she has actually smashed bottles over people's heads.
And present.
Yes, and present. And it's ironic, because she actually did it to her boyfriend that she has now, to his ex-girlfriend a few weeks ago. And it's the truth.
Just tell me what happened to you.
So she was yelling at me. She put the bottle down. I went to turn around. She punched me in the face. We ended up on the floor punching, hitting, kicking each other.
Just a second. Well, that's a fight.
Yes.
But she put her hands on you first.
Yes. She punched me when I turned around.
Were you injured?
I had bruises and I had some scratches on my face.
Yeah.
And I have a chiropractor bill also.
I'd like to see it.
Okay.
Ms. Snyder, you understand that you have lots of questions to answer for me.
Yes.
Okay. Sorry.
Your Honor, could I say something as well?
About?
About all the assaults that were going on.
I'm only here about one assault.
Well, it was one physical assault, but there was many threats.
I'm not interested in the threats. I'm here about this assault.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't think it was intentional. I think
of course it was intentional. I don't care. Listen to me. I don't care about what the operation of your mind is. All you tell me is what you saw and what you heard.
Time says her boyfriend's ex-girlfriend, Amber Snyder, vandalized her car and assaulted her during a party. Amber denies the vandalism and claims Jessica started the fight.
What I want to know, Ms. Snyder, is why, and it's clear to me, you're angry with her.
Very.
Why?
Because just animosity built up from, me and her became friends after all the vandalizing happened. And we became friends for about I'd say December to March. And I mean, we hung out, we called each other. It wasn't just, it's okay to hang out. We actually called each other on our own cell phones. And then she was
and this was after?
This was after the vandalizing happened.
This was after?
I have proof that we weren't friends. Right here.
Hey, she didn't interrupt you. You're not to interrupt her. Do we understand each other? This was after you and Kevin were no longer seeing each other. So this is in March.
This started in December and then it ended in March. Then we made an agreement where she was like, okay, well, I'd rather have your friendship over Kevin. And I was like, okay. And then
so she said to you, I prefer having a friendship with you and not being with Kevin.
Yeah.
And then she went back to Kevin.
Yeah, and then it was
just a second. And that's why you're angry.
Yeah, because I like being friends with her. And then it was downhill.
What's your first name, Amber?
Yeah.
Amber, listen to me very carefully, sweetheart. Men are never worth fighting over.
So I've heard from a lot of people now.
Get one, find another. Do you understand? Never worth two women fighting over. It's demeaning. Second, I think that as much as he's a very nice guy, the fact that he was intimate with this young lady for a week shows just a little bit of a flaw in his character. A little bit of a flaw, because she clearly thought that she was a more important person in his, put your hand down, more important person in his life than he did. Women tend to hold on to that feeling. You understand that?
I've been with my husband since I was 16, so.
So you get it?
I get it.
You get it.
But I would never fight over a man.
Oh, yeah, it's ridiculous. Fight the man. Beat him up.
But, Your Honor, she wasn't fighting over him. She was.
No, I understand that.
Okay.
She. You want to get married? I never understand why they go after the new girlfriend. They ought to go after the husband. That's what they should go after. What are they going after the new girlfriend for? Listen, I don't know whether you vandalized her car. Only you know whether you vandalized her car. If you did it, whether you did it alone or with your friends, only you know that. Unfortunately, in a courtroom setting, we have proof, and that doesn't rise to the level of proof. So now you're going to tell me that you don't remember how this fight got started on March 7th.
I do remember all the yelling, and then, I don't know, I admit that I was maybe a little too drunk, and I just blacked out, and all of a sudden I remember being pulled to the ground and her being on top of me.
I was with her that night, and I witnessed the whole thing, and I had not had a sip of alcohol.
Then, just a second, then come up here and I'm going to hear you. Tell me your name.
I'm Alex DiLorenzo.
Okay.
Okay. A lot of things Jessica was saying about that night are true. When she was walking by, Amber did brush her on her shoulder. There's obviously tension.
What's a brush? Explain to me what a brush is.
Sorry if I'm not using the right words.
No, I want to know what a brush is.
When they were walking by...
Is it a body? Is it a body thing? So
yeah, like a hit on the shoulder, and it's like kind of like a get out of my way. They were both in the room. They don't like each other. They've had problems in the past, so...
Just listen to me. She body Englished her.
I don't think it was intentional. I think
of course it was intentional. I don't care. Listen to me. I don't care what you think.
Okay.
I don't care about what the operation of your mind is. All you tell me is what you saw and what you heard. And what you saw is Miss Snyder pushing her body against the plaintiff. That's what we saw. And then what did you see?
Okay. They got into a verbal confrontation.
Miss Groshheim said what? Do you remember?
Yes.
No, don't listen to me. Don't make it up.
No, Amber, don't effing push me or something like that.
Fine. I believe that she probably said it because that doesn't sound like it's something unusual for her to say.
Okay. After that, things had settled. Jessica was in a different room. Amber was in a different room. At that point, they got into another confrontation.
How did they? Just a second. They were each in separate rooms. Were they screaming at each other from room to room?
No.
No, look. I ask the questions. You answer the questions. What room was Miss Snyder in?
The living room.
Sure. Don't go any further. The defendant was in the living room. And where was the plaintiff?
The house had two living rooms. One was close to a backyard, which is where Miss Amber was. And then Jessica was in...
Don't clack up with the bracelets, please.
Sorry. And then the living room, there was a pool table closer to the door of the front entranceway. There was two living rooms. Like, you walk in through the house like this, the door.
Don't tell me like this, like this. They were each in a separate room,
living room.
Separate living rooms. Okay. And when they got into the confrontation, in what room was the confrontation? Look at me. In what room was the confrontation?
The kitchen.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The boyfriend came in because he heard the screaming back and forth. He grabbed her and said, let's get outside. You followed her outside. Now tell me what happened outside, Miss Troublemaker.
Closed captioning sponsored by Groshheim says her boyfriend's ex, Amber Snyder, owes for vandalism and an assault.
Who went into the kitchen?
I'm not sure who was in there first.
So you don't know, so that they weren't in two separate rooms?
No, this was all verbal fighting. The physical assault hadn't happened yet.
I'm talking about how they ended up in the same room to have a verbal confrontation.
They both had to have walked in there, I guess, at different times. And
you didn't see who walked in from where?
No, I did not see because I was with Amber, and I know when we walked in, and I think Jessica was already in there, but like I said, I'm not sure.
So Miss Groshheim was already in the kitchen. And you walked in with Miss Snyder to the kitchen.
We had no idea.
Just a sec. Don't tell me what was in the operation of her mind. Hers. You walked into where she was in the kitchen. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what happened when you got there?
Amber saw that she was in the room, and they both started arguing.
No. Somebody said something first. And if you don't remember, I would suggest you say, I don't remember.
That's what I was going to tell you. I don't remember who said something first. That's why I said they started verbally arguing.
Okay, but Miss Snyder went into the area where Miss Groshheim was.
Yes.
And where did this altercation continue?
Jessica was dragged outside, and we were all...
Was dragged outside by whom? Look at me. Was dragged outside by whom?
Kevin and other people, her friends that she wasn't with, and we were being forced
Just a second. So Kevin took his girlfriend and pulled her outside. And right now in the kitchen, all there was going on was a lot of verbal back and forth.
Yes.
So now Miss Grosheim is outside with her boyfriend, correct?
Correct.
And where is the lovely Miss Amber?
With me, and we're being forced out of the house at this point.
Just a second. I want you to tell me being forced is not what happened. I want you to tell me where you went from the kitchen.
We went in the front yard from the kitchen. The owner of the house asked us to leave at this point because of all the verbal confrontations. So we were asked to leave. We walked outside. From there, another verbal altercation started.
Just a minute. Let's look at the objective data, Miss Troublemaker. The plaintiff was in the kitchen. You followed her into the kitchen. The boyfriend came in because he heard the screaming back and forth. He grabbed her and said, let's get outside. They took her outside, and then you and Miss Amber went outside where she was, where the verbal back and forth continued. So she left the area, you followed her outside. Now tell me what happened outside.
They started arguing.
Again, right?
Yes, they started arguing again, but this time Jessica said something to Amber, like, Amber's boyfriend at the time was there, and Jessica said, he's a great guy, he's a great guy, something about, why are you doing this? And she started unloading things, saying things to obviously get a rise out of her, things like,
Just
you know,
a second.
why do you care?
That's not getting a rise out of her, you idiot. That's saying, why are you continuing this? You have a nice boyfriend. Why don't you get over this? That's what you said. Just a second. That's what you said, she said.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What is the result of that?
A friend that was there, I believe he was a friend of Jessica's, came in between them.
Listen to me. I don't care what you believe. Somebody got in between them, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then, don't go over there, right here. And then...
It looked like Jessica pushed her.
What do you mean? What do we mean by that, sweetheart? It looked like Jessica pushed her. Is that the brush, like the brush
No.
with the shoulder?
No.
Well, explain to me, what do you mean? It looks like Jessica
There's a man, there's a person between them, and Jessica puts her arms up.
And?
And then Amber went in to hit her.
And now you can sit down. You got to learn to keep your hands to yourself. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Judging for the plaintiff for the amount of $1,500. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Nelson is suing his adopted son, 22-year-old Christopher Nelson, for the value of a Corvette. Dennis claims Christopher illegally sold the vehicle.
Order. All rise. Yeah, this is case number 171 on the calendar, the matter of Nelson versus Nelson. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Mr. Nelson, this is your son.
Yes.
You were married to his mother, and did you formally adopt him?
Yes.
And you are now divorced from his
Yes.
mother? When was that divorce?
September.
Of?
06.
According to your complaint, you believe that your son owes you for a car that you gave to him, titled in his name, but with a condition. And the condition was the car would be returned to you if and when he joined the Navy.
He told me he was already signed up for the Navy in January.
Right. So that was the condition that you indicated.
To get him off of a motorcycle that he was riding rather recklessly.
Right. And you said to him, here's a car, putting it in your name. When you go into the Navy, I want you to give it back.
Right.
Did you ever go into the Navy?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, I read your whole complaint, and your whole complaint has sort of a convoluted story about certain trust that you had in your son to do the right thing. He took the car, he sold it to somebody else, then he took it back, then he sold it to another person. Bottom line is, I read your complaint very carefully, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And your complaint is clear. Even if I believe what you said in your complaint,
Mm-hmm.
which was you gave him this car, you transferred the title to him, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
He insured the car himself, is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you pay for the insurance yourself?
Yes, Your Honor.
And how long did you drive the car?
Only for a couple months, Your Honor.
Then you sold it and bought something else.
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Nelson, stop playing with your papers.
Okay.
Because you're not going to understand what I'm saying to you unless you pay attention.
Gotcha.
If I believe what you say in your complaint, you made him a conditional gift.
Mm-hmm.
And the condition of that gift was that the car would be returned to you when he entered the Navy.
Mm-hmm.
But he has not entered the Navy.
Okay.
So how can you get the car back? Or the value of the car?
Okay.
Do you understand? I know that you're angry with him. I don't know exactly why. Maybe we can resolve that. But the conditional gift that you made to him it becomes a permanent gift if he never joins the Navy. Is it your intention to join the Navy?
No, Your Honor.
Why not?
I decided to keep pursuing my medical field that I am now.
And not join the Navy? Okay. Ever? When did you give him the car, Mr. Nelson, just for my own information?
September 27, 06.
And you titled it in that same month. And when did you sell the car, sir?
Down in October, around.
Who'd you sell it to?
I didn't personally meet them. My stepfather actually had it in Desert Hot Springs, and he sold it for me.
To whom did you sell it?
To a private party out of Banning.
Stand up. How much did you sell it for?
Your Honor, Christopher owed me some money, so he'd gotten another vehicle. So in lieu of the money that he owed me,
what did he owe you money for?
Personal loans.
Explain it to me.
Just everyday living, helping him with insurance, paying for some of his tuitions through furthering his education in the EMS field, things of that nature.
How much did he owe you?
About $4,500. Educations are expensive.
How long have you been married to his mother?
Since July of 06.
You were divorced in September of 06. So how could you be married in July of 06?
It was a typo on the court's behalf, and we're since straightening that out in litigation.
What do you mean you're straightening that out? What does that mean?
Well, what it means is there was a typo that instead of putting a 9 when the divorce would have been finalized, it would look like a 7. So we went forward with the wedding. Come to find out later that it was a typo, so we're in litigation now with the courts to rectify that.
Why don't you just get married again?
We will, sir. Ma'am, when we're done with this. Pardon me.
May I reiterate?
Just a second. So let's assume he owed you $4,500 in the relatively short time that you've been together with his mother. How much did you sell the car for?
That exact amount.
To whom?
I don't know the name of the person. I took the car to my place of employment, placed a for sale sign in it, and 5 hours later sold the car. I don't know the name of the people. I really didn't expect this
A man or a woman?
It was a man for his daughter.
Did you get a check or cash?
I received cash.
Do you know that I don't believe a word that's coming out of your mouth?
I'm sorry.
Do you know
I'm sorry.
that I don't really believe a word that's coming out of your mouth? Do you trust him?
I know it was true.
Well, let me tell you something. Most of what he just told me was not true.
I beg to differ, Your Honor.
Oh,
under this state that
you can do all you like, sir, but I understand.
I just swore between God and this court to tell the truth.
Quiet. I understand why Mr. Nelson is annoyed. The truth of the matter is, he made a conditional gift, and it didn't work out the way he had assumed it was work out. He certainly wasn't giving his son a car to give to you, to give you money. And so I can understand why he's annoyed. I understand why you're annoyed, sir.
Thank you.
Okay?
When I get a chance, I'd like to explain.
Go ahead.
First, the car was stolen from her. She has a judgment on it.
A judgment? What do you mean it was stolen from you?
He sold the car to her, not to him.
Who sold the car to her?
Christopher sold the car to her.
Which is Christopher?
Christopher.
You sold the car to this lady?
For $7,500.
I'm speaking.
No, Your Honor.
You did not.
No, Your Honor.
There's the judgment.
I'd like to explain.
Go ahead.
When I received the car, I heard from a friend that I believe Kelly was looking for a car around $5,000, $7,500 or so. And so me and her were talking and everything, but she only had about $2,500 to give me. I knew she was going through some hard time, so we made a verbal agreement that she was to have possession of the car and I was to retain ownership until final payment. After a couple of weeks, I kept getting the same response that...
How much money did she give you?
She gave me $2,500 as a down payment. And then I was still waiting on $5,000 when she went down to her security lockbox at quote-unquote Pachanga. Well, after many weeks of trying to talk to her and give me the same excuse, it wasn't until after I talked to a lawyer and a detective from the Marietta Police Department about the legal part of it that I was in full right to go and repossess my vehicle.
What'd you do with the $2,500?
She took me to court.
And what happened with it?
I even told her that I would give her the back.
What happened with it?
I was unable to attend.
What do you mean you were unable to attend?
I had a class that I was already enrolled in to further my...
Go ahead.
I have a witness in the back.
You didn't know you could appeal.
For what?
Christopher.
I will testify
To what?
to whatever you want to hear.
Well, I
He'll
don't want to testify to whatever I want to
He
hear.
will testify to the fact that he did steal the car. He was paid in full.
Just a second. Just a second. You have a judgment against him for $7,500?
She has the judgment.
You have a judgment against him, so there's no question. A
Here's
court
the
has
bill
already
of sales
a
for
court,
the other car.
A court has already ruled on that.
On that one.
On this one.
But the other witness will testify that he did take the car.
No, I got it. He said he repossessed the car, and he couldn't go to the hearing, to the court date, because he had a class.
Okay.
And then he took the car back and he gave it to his stepfather, who sold it, according to him, for
Here's the bill of sales on
$4,500.
there, on
Can I see the bill of sale?
The ones that he can't find.
Your last name is Mater?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, I have a bill of sale, sir, with your signature on it, indicating that you sold this car to Joanna
That's
for
the name.
$5,700.
I don't recall it being 57.
Well, why don't you take a look at this, sir?
Okay.
I don't remember it being that much either.
Obviously, this is a second-generated bill of sale with the price altered. I'm not a liar. I am a man of integrity. Have fun.
Listen, I don't have to get into all of this. You can sit down. I can understand why your father is angry with you. He made a gift to you. He was hoping that you would be able to use that gift and drive safely with that gift. And he didn't do it to line the pockets of anybody else, including taking care of the bills that you allegedly owed to your stepfather. He was trying to help you. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, is there any reason why you did that?
What, Your Honor?
Took a wonderful gesture and made it not wonderful anymore.
It wasn't a wonderful gesture, Your Honor.
No, it wasn't?
No, Your Honor.
Well, let me ask you this question, sir. Do you think that your father could have sold that car to somebody else? Put your hand down. Well, you sold it to somebody for $7,500. He sold it to somebody for $5,700. Don't you think your father could have sold it to somebody else for $5,000?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's an answer. Instead, he gave it to you. Write it off. Mr. Nelson, legally, I can't help you because the condition was that you get it back.
Is what it is.
You get it back if he joined the Navy. Didn't join the Navy. He's not going to join the Navy. Unfortunate. Sometimes your best intentions are not necessarily.
His words were he signed up for the Navy in January.
I understand that.
Okay.
Okay? Thank you very much.
Good
Your
enough.
case is
Thank you.
dismissed. That's all. You owe him an apology.
That'll never happen.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
It is what it is. Liars, cheats, and thieves. The whole family.
He can't handle the fact that he has no control.
The captain of the fire department is less than honest.
The judge tried to attack my character, which was wrong. I was truthful as much as I could remember.
He's using his position to get personal vendettas.
He's jealous that I am married to his wife and basically have taken his prized possessions.
I just don't like dishonest people.
This guy is definitely less than stable. I just hope for society's sake they take care of this guy.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lawler versus Fletcher, step forward.
Brittany Lawler claims ex-boyfriend Nathan Fletcher broke their apartment lease. Nathan says Brittany kicked him out after he spanked her son.
Miss Lawler, according to your complaint, you and the defendant lived together, signed a one-year lease in an apartment. You moved in, there were three of you. You, the defendant, and you have a child who's 6. You lived together and everything was pretty okay for a while, and then there was an incident involving your son. And the incident involving your son surrounded an eating tantrum that he had. And according to Mr. Fletcher, he threw a tantrum and Mr. Fletcher spanked him. After that, the two of you separated, never got back together again. Mr. Fletcher did pay the rent for a couple of months and then stopped. You want him to pay the last 3 or 4 months' rent because he signed the lease with you. Mr. Fletcher says that he really anticipated that you would be back together again, that you told him to leave, and that he's not going to pay any rent since you asked him to leave. Not only asked him to leave, you told him to leave. I believe in your answer, Mr. Fletcher, you say that her parents gave her an ultimatum. Either you left or they were taking her son.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that what happened?
No.
Well, we'll find out. If they did say that, it probably would have been the right thing to do. Mr. Fletcher.
Yes, ma'am.
There are certain given facts in this case. signed a joint lease, which obligated you to pay half the rent. You did not pay half the rent for how many months? 3?
I believe so, yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
3 months. But for the other 7 months you did. And what was your share of the rent?
$745 a month.
And yours was $745?
Yes, ma'am.
Where are you living now?
I'm still living there. The lease is not up yet, and I'm moving back in with my parents.
Who's paying the rent now?
I am.
From what?
I had to borrow money. I had to take out a personal loan with the bank in order to cover the rent.
Do you work?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Fletcher, tell me when you spanked her son.
It was evening of the 8th, Monday. Had cooked some dinner for him. Huh?
8th of what?
January. He was eating dinner, and all of a sudden, he just started having a little tantrum, and I told him to stop, spitting food all over the carpet, told him to go to his room, wouldn't comply, so I spanked him.
Why don't you just pick him up and put him in his room?
Didn't think about it.
How old is he?
He was 5 at the time.
Where did you spank him?
On his bottom.
What'd you use?
Back of my hand.
How many times did you hit him?
I hit him once.
Once?
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
I wasn't there. I'd have to take his word or my son's word, so.
Well, you don't have to take his word. What did your son say?
My son said that he had hit him very hard, so he was upset.
Is there any mark on him?
There was a little mark, yes.
You told your parents?
Yes.
And what happened?
When I saw it, I asked him, I said, you know what, you can't stay right now. This is not going to be a good situation. I don't know what's going to happen. I asked him to leave temporarily while he maybe did some parenting classes, maybe anger management or something to help cool things down and maybe fix the situation so that we could stay together.
So what do you want him to do?
I want him to fulfill his obligation and continue to pay the rest of the rent.
But he can't live there, Miss Lawler.
He can't live there because of his own behavior, because of his own actions.
I mean, I don't think if he hit, I'm not advocating, Mr. Fletcher, using corporal punishment on your child. Let's start with that. However, since you left him with your son in a position of parenting authority, there's a difference between corporal punishment and excessive corporal punishment. If Mr. Fletcher says he hit him once on the behind, and that's what he says, and you have no reason to dispute that, and if you told him to leave as a result of that, and he did not have the ability to stay in the apartment because of that, he shouldn't have to pay the rent.
He signed a lease, and because of his actions...
You move.
And how am I going to move with my son when everything in that apartment was mine?
Listen to me, Miss Lawler. That's a choice that you have. Instead of telling him to leave, say, listen, we have the following choices. We're both on this lease. I can't afford the rent because I'm not working. I'm going to move back with my parents. You can stay in the apartment. Or if I stay in the apartment, we have to do something with the lease. But you told him to leave.
It's temporary.
No.
Yes, it doesn't.
No, you gave him. No.
No.
My dear, temporary.
He left some of his stuff in the apartment, so he knew it was not permanent. I told him, you get some parenting classes, you do some counseling,
that
and you
has
can
nothing
come
to
back
do
in.
with the lease.
Yes, it does. It has everything to do with
Miss
the
Lawler,
lease.
it has nothing to do with the lease, madam. He didn't sign a lease and sign on to take on parenting classes or anger management classes. That wasn't a condition of his lease.
No, he did sign a lease that he would fulfill his obligation to pay his rent for the entire year. It doesn't matter what happened. He has an obligation to finish paying the rent.
That's why you're here. He did, in fact, pay 2 months' rent when he wasn't living there.
Yes, because he said he would continue to pay the rent because it was his obligation.
And I'm telling you that you told him to leave.
I asked him to leave temporarily until the situation calmed down. Am I supposed to put my son and me in some situation
When is your lease? When is your lease?
comfortable?
Listen to me. When is your lease up?
My lease is up at the end of this month.
Well, you should have come to court earlier. I would have told you to go back to your parents earlier and told him to move back into the apartment.
What would I have done? He can't pay the rent. We would have both still been on the lease, and we both still would be...
Miss Lawler, that's a what if. And what I'm telling you is the lease is up in 20 days. Instead of waiting 20 days, you should have sued him before. You should have gone in the first month that he said, I'm not paying you any more rent.
I couldn't, because I have to go back every month.
And then I would have said to you, Miss Lawler, go home to your parents now. Mr. Fletcher, you go back to the apartment and continue to pay the rent.
He couldn't have paid the rent by himself. Either way, if he had stayed or I'd stayed, it doesn't matter. We would still be in the same situation.
Miss Lawler, right now, he paid rent for 2 months in an apartment where he was not living. When he was not living, you threw him. Don't you get it?
I did not throw him out. I asked him to temporarily leave. That's not.
When did you invite him back?
I wouldn't invite him back.
Just answer my question.
If you would let
when
me.
Did you invite him? You said I asked him to leave temporarily. When did you invite him back? On what date?
I told him he could come back when he took some counseling.
He doesn't have to do that,
Well,
madam.
then he doesn't have to continue the relationship with me. That was the circumstances. He knew that when he moved out, that he needed to get some help to continue the relationship so that he can move back in. It was
You
not
need
just
any
the
help?
spanking of my son that started this. He has been unstable and yelling, screaming, accusing me of cheating. Every other week,
that's
he
a
would
whole other. Then you should have gone home to your parents earlier, Miss Lawley. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
All these are excused.
तुम जितवा सकते हो यार
डाउट पाना ना बरो कुर्बान जगोर इंटरनेशनल प्लेयर या मा जी मान
बिल्कुल ही मंग सर मन कुर्बान देता बड़ी कमाई वो रास्ता वो नहीं
ना वाला
वो इंटरनेशनल प्लेयर कितने स्टडी बच्चे मान
दा वजाले मा टोल टिकटॉक के वाहिद दा कस्ते करना टिकटॉक सब
ए तो स्टडी बच्चे
अरे अब यार डाउट ओ से बस हो गया मैदान दशला का वली तासी गेमونه موږ داسو غواړو
لکه زما صرف هم په ذکر
तासी गेमونه دروازه کوي यार हां पनिशमेंट देबल तो गोरा वला का साइला
म्यूट ما خبر مکو
کوم دغه دې کم یو لا ګوري دغه دغه نه مړ ورانه چې سړی مړ شي پوښو د پاسه پیلا ګوري
ګورا مسکراهټ خشه د خندا
الته ولي انتظار کوي چې په مونږ کله شاټو نه وای ته په مونږ خراب وې
والله کوي ته کڅه پیګه غلي دې کې راسته نه وای د نسړي بچي یو غواړم دی وسم غټلې شم
ولي غوسم غټلې شي کوړې کسه پته
ولي روزه د نسړي بچي سبا زله فون دې سیټ تراشه دلته نو غټه نسو کو سنت گفټینګ نه کوم نو نه मतलब दी सेट कराओ लेगा
ओ या د خیر مار بچی ته وګوره साहिल वली दलता कसान राहुलेगा पाकिस्तान के धमाका शवे ब्रोच सुप के मशवी अल्लाह दू बखिनो वली ज समातो वर
खदमत धमाका लिखी
वली सब बमुनो वाले हम डिस्पोजेबल कमरोर अल्लाह दू
बखी सोलर का दुआगानियों की दुरुजी बदल का
मशवी जरूर अल्लाह दू बखी सो जख्मियान अल्लाह दे व शफा
शहीदान दी शहीदान
जमाना सब डिस्पोजेबल वाला रागो जोड़ करे दे रोरा زو الله دې وبخي دوا ورته کوي کمنټ نه سن جوړيږي الله دې وبخي الله دې ولاغه دنیا خسته کې بختوره میاش کې لاړ امين دا چې مرګ زمون په نصیب کې شي بس امين هغه بل مو یا امين اوري د سری مرګ واده کنه سید
ټول لګي امين دوستانو امين خدای دې وبخي امين هر مسلمان ورور مری خدای پاک دې جنت فردوس امين
انا ما دا خدا سي دغه دې په دغه میاشو په دغه ورځو کې لاړې جنتی شیطانان ټول تړل شي what is bro said ته بولی سبا لای راځي
نه سبا نه را سبا د چټي کوم زه راځم ولا نه روزه وای ما مریض بداسي سورخ استخري
دا ته مریض
جری مال ډوډۍ رانه کې قران د خبرې نه کوم
سایل سره ډوډۍ خوړلې کنه نه سایل استاد لګي بریت راځي سم جيبه سم چارلي 56 ښکارې دونه بدرنګ ولي سوي سایل خبره وای سبا لاب سبا نه راځم زوبر مې بریت نه خرچوي یاره زه بریت پرې خو دا کټه کړه بیا نه ورانو
د دو میاشتې مې زلایب نه راځم جری لګیره بریت غټوما یاره ګیره بریت غټ شو والله د لایب نه بالکل غنټه مخکې مې ووال واپس دو میاشتې صبر کړو ما داسې سړی ما چې څه خوښې زه داسې سړی نه دی نه کو په لباس کې غخ کاري والله ولي ته مریض ته پرخښه مریض کا غپ لګای ما زه ولې مریض شم ته ولې مریض وام سبا چې ډوډۍ ونه خورم مریضېږم لکه سبا نه راځي
نه نو ته خو بلای به شپې راځو کنه مونږ هم دې ټیم راځو لکه
تراوی روزه ده کنه نسواریان بم دلته کمنټونه بیا کوي
تاسو چې وای دا ولي تاسو چې روزه ماته کې نو تراوی نه بعد بلای راځي کنه
نو زمون خو نه د تراوی خو بیا زمون ډیر روسته کیږي
سټیم کیږي ولي ته چې تراوی چیرته کې
زه خو په کور کې کوم
ټول هغه بزان لوي زه هم
دلته ځان نه
دلته ځان نشته
دلته ځان نشي اورېدی
ویلکم بیک
دلته آزاد کیږي نه
ویلکم بیک یونیټي راځي
ولکه جیری ستا خو دغه د
ته ولته کوي شي کنه ځان لبکه کنه
ځان ته بره موبایل کې دلته سیستم را ډاونلوډ کې هغه ته هر ټیم
صحیح شو پوه شم
لکه دغه نشته ما ته خپل ځاني ما چې په جرمني کې مونځ کړی دی یو 3 ځل په جومات کې جمعې کړی یو اختر په اختر مې یو 2 اختر مونځ مې کړی نور ماړو جومات شته نه دلته نو په کومه ورپسې ګرځم
زما لاس
ما کړی زه ته
استرالیا کې وه
شته د جمعې مانځه ته تلم خو لیموش کې دلته نه
زما لاس هغه کې واولي اسرائیل استرالیا کې
بانوف ته وځي نه کدونه غوبه
استرالیا کې ومه
دلته نه وي ته احمد سنی ته چې دوه افطاری لزو
اخو بدا کاله بل کال درته 2 کال ورستو یس انت ولا زه یوازې وم ارسه به یوازې
کوم ځای کې
بار ملکونه کې
استرالیا کې
ګوره په دې یو اس اے کې استرالیا کې په دغه یو کې په دغه ځای کې جمعهتون شته ډیر دي دلته اروپا کې ډیر کم دی بیا په جرمني
کې څنګه ډیر دي بلجیم کې په ټول
جرمني کې ټول نه کم جمعهتون په جرمني کې دي خال په یو غټ خار کې به یو جمعه دي بس
ټول کې ډیر جرمني کې دي دوستانو په بلجیم کې ته کوم ځای کې ولي زه خو چې په فرانسې او جرمني کې ته کوم ځای وای دا
جرمني
دوه یو ځای دي کنه دومره لري
یو
دوه رونه ملاو شي ترته روټه موټه لور
نه ان شاء الله
یو بل په کوډه وخره
قسم دې
شرکت جرمني کوم ځای ډېلی ولي کراتله براتلم
تا دې الله راولي نو لکه د سپي وس غلولې د کور دې سپي روجه خو پتا خراب کړی
جرمني ته راځه جرمني ته راځه
مړه والله
نشي راته ولا کې داراشي
مړه راتللو باندې دا خبر را ولي قسم پوغه ده یار
خیر واجدا
کما سایل چرته پلان وکړو خدا مړه کور نه بار نه پریدي
نه والله ور بشو تا ته مخکې ملو کړه
مړه دې خله ته دی وګوره
قرآن می دی وی
ولی قسم په خدای کدا دا کور نه بار پریدي دا خپل دا سیستم غړي خبره د ځان کمرو کې درې بیډونه دي
الګ سمون کلی کې والے کو کونه ور کوله باندې د کور نه پرې خو د خو چوته لکه د بانګیانو په لکان سورېده خو په دبم دا حاجی
نجری سامینوال شته ته په اروپا کې
جرمني کې او زما ملګری شته دي
یې مینوال هم کنه غټ مینوال
دا
ځان در دی دکاندار راولي دې اصلي مینوال
یاره قسم
قسم په ټول دی مینوال دي چې ځان سره وایي دا داسې سړی د ولي کنه د افریقا ته
حمود
کا پشان سړی د نه یریدو
افریقا هم دلته موږ سره یو ځای ده کنه
افریقا ته د نه یریدو
هم جرمني
یاره تاسو غلطی نه تاسو مجبور یې دا ساحل شو افریقا شو جی دا مجبور دي
یاره په ولنه شپراته چې دغه راته څوي کنه
یاره که برو مکو برو
وای زه بلار شو مو دی ریدو اته بوزه سره او ولي چاوي دې چې چې ما دا پریوتلو یو تاخی کنه نو ما ولا ګلان نه مو کړي ما ته سوي وای ګوره ځاش د پلګوم په ریال کې بیا کونی نیم کنه نو مال والا کو ما ته وسنګ کې اوس دلته پکې راغلی وای نه باید وشي نه وای زبد ابلو تاخ ځان ته ونی سم مال خو په یو تاخ ته ډونه په یو کټ کې وکیو کنه مال خزه سید راځنو چې پریوتلو روجانا بدا چې د خپل وراړول سیستم به مې ورته اخیره ویل وای مال والا کس غپ لګو میریګا
افریقا
قسم په الله غیر ډیر زیات یارولو جری الکانو مرتبل چر څنګه کیږي خو ولولاد بیګاله ځان ونی سر او هغه نور چا یارو نور تاسو سرسو کو امر کړی نو دغه دا یو دو درې و د واجد ملګری وو د واجد ملګری وو هغه
ورا قسم پوره چې مونږ درلو کنه خو ته مړه دوبه تر راشه ولي اوس خورتا شه مې
دلی سو هم کته لړې
ولی ته اوس لې شي دغه ته دوبه ته
ویزا ته پاسپورت ورکړې اوس زم
نو تا ته کارت ته په کارت خو ته نشتلېګا
زبل سیستم باندې
نه دل هغه ملاو شو سلام دل پاسپورت ملاو شو
دغه ډاکومېنټس ته کنه د ګرځي
زما پرایویټ ډاکومېنټس ته
اخو ما ته د خیر ما ته ملو شو هغه په یورپ کې ګرځي دي په یورپ کې دن نه ګرځي دي
هغه باندې نشتلې هغه دی خوانه سراته میډل ایست او ایشیا په دې په نشتلې اله یورپ کې ګرځېدی شي
یورپ په هر کونج ته تللی شي
هاي مستر صاحب
ټول عمر باندې کمره کې باندې
نه خو بس مونږ ته یو خبره ده چې که مونږ ته ټول ډاکومنټس ملو شي بیا تاسو به بس ولی الله سره څومره دومره ما سره دی
کله درکړم
زما تقریبا 10 ورځې شماله خو کور یو شهر یو لینډ برابر جرمني خو چې تاره دغه کوي غرسه
جرمني ډیر خمل ته یار ډیر خمل ته جرمني
خو تاره دغه خو په ولی الله باندې زما کار ځکه د خو ډیر وخت شو کنه د بیا ډاکومنټ چې کوم دی جرمني ډیر مشکل دی ته پته ده ما ته ځکه ډیر اساني شو چې ما به واده کړی
افریقي سره شته کنه دغه
افریقي سره شته
افریقي چې د مور او پلار د دې ځای دي
ماشاءالله
صحیح کیسه او افریقي دی له ورکی کنه هغه له ورکی
هغه خو دوه نمبر
هغه له ورکی
هغه ته اسانه ده زه دا د ولي یو ویډیو را لګم دغه
هغه دلته خپه شاوخ کو نه ورکوي ځکه ارامیان دي یو چا زلم نه خپه کوي سړک په سر
هغه شی وادم دې لپاره کړی
چا
کومه واده کړی
واده نه دی کړی
افریقي ما ویډیو د لیک شو سړي سم رنگ وو قسم دې ما دوره ګناونه کړې دي ما وی چې سپه کې رامه
توبه
دوبۍ ته راوځ دوبۍ کې برج خلیفه سره ودرېږه خلکو ته وایي وادرې دی وایي وګوته پریده چې روسي
او ورسره دا واس کو پوه شي چې یو خوري ورته سبحان الله
دا تاسو سړي راونی
لس نه کاره بم غټي
کم فریم د جری کم فریم د تصویر واسه یو
و باسه دوستانو تصویر
تصویر واسه اخیری تصویر واسه یو من
اوکې
مکه دي جړاګانو کوي اما
او سوري راته مانه هیرو
سبحان الله استراحه
زه ټینشن مالا فوري ته ورا خلک ټوپه واچي
مثال به بتاو اوس 15 بچی راوړی وي خو تا لکه په مثال یو بچی نه راوړی
لکه
یاره I'll tell him personally ولی سم خسته کاری قسم نن تاسو خو
دلته ټول ډینجر لیکلي دي هغه تصویرانه هغه بل شي والا تصویران لګو ټول وي په ساحل مې
مثال خو
استغفر کله پاترونه را پاریغه شي هغه
ارباب نه
را پاریغه شي بیا بیا تاسو ته پاتې شي دا چاکلیټي چا پنه
وای جری برازي څنګه وي جری چې خزانه پریدي وي خزانه نه پریدي
چرته
پسونه دوستانو تاسو زه خبرو کوم دا ګورته دلته بدمعاش کیږي
دا چې بدمعاش کیږي دا وای نه تاسو کدا بدمعاش کیږي دا
هر انسان دا انسان چې خاصه په مخ کې سړی بدمعاش نشي
په اروپا کې اگر سړی ته پته کته تاسو په دوبه کې کولې شو په اروپا کې مو بدمعاش نشي کولای
دلته نشي کولای نه وای دلته څه وي دلته خزانه ده
دوبه کې کولې شو دلته خزه ته ما لازم نشي کته قسم دې سر در باندې وګورئ
نشي کولای دلته
کې بیا هم شي دلته نشي
څنګه لکه څه نشي
په دوبه کې په سړی ما په خزه باندې سترګې روباسا یو کړنګم
دې خلیته دې وګوره دې خلیته سایل سوي وش
اردو کې کناري اردو کې ویوا
نه زما نه وای څوي سایلا وای دلته چې سترګې روباسي یا چې شړک ورکې جینه دلته چې د جینې لري په فالتو خبرو کا په خبره دې نمبر دی
نو تر سړی زوی هغه ګل دی ګلاب دی هغه ته وري په ځول خبره اته گزار لای کوي
نه دا غوډه ته دلته نشي کوي
ټول ورستا خدمت کوي هغه ته جان
مړه په جینې سو کلاس وچته نو
مینه محبت در کې داغه نه پاتې تارم زاده په هغه غوسه
نه لري چې په جینې سو کلاس وچته
ولا دوستان وادي وريده خبر دوکړه فریدي یو نیم باز جینې نه کونه دی نوري کیږي ولا ګونه دونه لقدر عزت هم درکې کارم درته وکي پروژه کې ټول ناس ته پاس هغه وکي ټول ورځ خوب وکي وادي وريده بیا چې راشي وادي به ورته د مور غول دی وغم ترکاری دي دغه ولا شوم به دي دغه کړي دا هغه سکړي ولا د پاسه په ټیم ته کې په قران می دوی I love نه کوي ټولې زنانه والله
او دا سایل چا
کومه جنې چې پرتګو باسي واجر او
یاره یو بچری منیجر زنی ونه کمانه
لعنت شبي
کله منیجر ستا زما د ولیو منیجر ده
ها
نه ستا بدله ده هغه بدله ده
د ولیو زما یو منیجر ده
ته ولې نه راوختې بیا
ما ته خو 50 ځلو چې راشه برلین ته زه نه یم ورغلی نه نه خو زما ټول ترانسلیټینګ هغه کوي نو د ولی چې کوم منیجر نه د ولی چې کوم منیجر ده هغه زما منیجر ده
ولی تا سره راځي شي جبا
یو نو
تاسو دواړه په یو ځای واده کوئ
یو شی یو انګلیش هم په یو ځای ماته اردو یو ځای ماته
نشو ما رمونی بلاک لکنه دلته یو غلط تصویر لګولې دی وادرې ده تا ما به سل دانی بلاک کړي قسم دی
ما هم ټول بلاک دلته نه چې بلاک کړل ته بلا دا غټ ګروپ راغلی ابل جینه د ناس هغه جینه ورته سترګې داس دي کې اور هغه خلکو ایډیټ کړي ده
نوې اډی غانې اوس یو فالوور دی وادرې دا ما ټول بلاک قسم دا ما ټول بلاک
نو سایه ماته دغه کړي دی فیسټیوال د پاره ته خو یو کې ته مونږ تلې نشو او دلته برلین ته نو برلین کې به مونږ سوکونه
ما تاسو نه ریکوینټ مې شو ولینا مو
او هغه کې مونږ
بل کال لازم ان شاء الله
ولا ډیر
بل کال به زم درځم ولي
هغه کې مونږ زه پټا
ودو غاړي مونږ ظالمه 6 میلیون 7 میلیون خو لګاوي کنه بیس دا صحیح ده
خو مونږ زړه پوره کیږي زمونږ
دا خو آسان ده او چې کله زمونږ
دا چې هغه غواړي اوس کو ولی ته ویلو دیم نشوتلې ماته ویلو
هغه ټیم جری قدر دی کسانوي
اوس برلین ته چې څنګه ولی راغوخته او داسې خو اوس دا ماته دا میسجونه کوي اوس بل ایونت راغلی نه ولی ته ویم لګلې وي هغه کې دا ما ورته مې زه په دغه بیا راته ترانزیکشن کې رولې ګلو بیا د ټولر یو شی دا
دا ګیمونه دي
تاسو پښتو کې ترانسلیشن کوي
دا ګیمونه دي تاسو بیا ګیمونه را روان دي
او فیسټیوال را روان دي
الله پامان
زموږ د اروپا سلور ډیر ور کوي
د چا ګیمونه ولی ستام ګیمونه دي
کوم نه کماله رنگ یې نه کوم
ولی چې دا کم ټول
ما ته یو بچا ټوکلو دی ګیم دوستانو زما په ټول اروپا کې وادري زما تصویر پالته په دغه راتللو ما نوم دایمه تا کټا وکړه وادري بل زده د فرانسې د خلکو سره ټول سره ماري پښه ما په فرانسې کې ژوند کړی د فرانسې دونه خلکو نه پیژنم ما د دې لپاره وکړه کنه په دغه یو میلیون فور خو ما ته هر ورځ پلی کېده بیا ما ته ایران پاتې ما ته ته چې شي کې دا ته چې نه مشهور چې تا ته 1 لک 1.5 لک کسات په دې کې مونږ کې ناسته ما هوټل مال بس نه پوهېږم نو وای ته دې نه مخکې څه کول مال مړی مې لمبول خو څه وای دا سره ما هوټل مال ورکوي ته خو نه پوهېږم ته په انګلیش نه پوهېږم دا ورته یو کنه پرويز ما د دې نه مخکې څه کول په بل د قراله مده جوک کې مو کې مستاک لوانه مده خلک کې جوک مو ګیفټینګ دونه وګی نه دی ورشپ ډیر وګی دی دا دونه خلک تاسو ولي کینی ته څه شی وای
ورته کې ځکینګ یم
استعمال په کوم لنګویج کې ته خبرې کوي دا دونه خلک تاسو ناشتي هغه تا ګوره ګیفټینګ هر سړی ته کیږي شل نفر وته نه چې دونه پر وته نه چلوستان ګیفټینګ ورته درڅم ډیر کیږي دا جنې ته ګوره 1.5 میلیونه هر ورځ ته شل
ولا هغه ظاهر نه ده یو نیم سل کسان ورته ناست یو ار او راز زمزم په سرور جرمني سرور کې ده ار ورځ 3 میلیون اول 200 کسان
زه درته څه چې هر ورځ دوه سکور بلیکيږي خو دوی ورشپ تړي ایران پاتیو ما د 3 لکه کسان ناس ماته د خپل زنګول وای آی ام کنفیوزد دا کاش سره خبرې کولې کاش خو به د یو کې ډیلر انګلیش باندې پويږي وای 3 لکه خلک ته ناس پوسیبل مال پوسیبل دلته شته کنه
یاره خپل وای
پوسیبل انګلیش زده کړای
که زه په انګلیش پوهیدلم په قران مې دا منیجر به د خندان شنو نه پوهیږم نه
دا به ورته وایي یو ار سو فنی
ته از د کوم ولی انګلیش ضرورت نشته
انګلیش نږدې کیږي نه نه ما سکول کې داخله ورته غشته ونه کو اسلام راسلم باندې کو شی نږدې کې دوی
ستاسو ما خو ډیری جبې دلته زده شو دي په انګلیش خډیر لګ ډیر پوهیږم په اردو خو صحیح پوهیږم
اوکې واټ از یور نیم
ما په جرمني کې 3 کال تیر کې په 3 کالو کې ما سره دون زده کړي
صبر تعالی انګلیش درځي تاسو ورلا واټ از یور نیم
ها
واټ از یور نیم
واټ از دی واچو څه په کې نیم قبل دی واچو دی مثال کو نه ته بدی ویم
دا اوس زازا کوي
ته مو انګلیش مو وای سوري
روزه بختور
تا په خپل کې ورته تا ته ځواب غلې کېږي نو غلې نه کېږي
اوکې صبر خشي بسم الله الرحمن الرحیم مولانا ساحل
زه لاړم زه زم لایف بندو باندې
ولې باندې
وایز ما 2 ساعت لایف وکړل بس زه نور نه
نه کېنه خیر دی
ما سو زم ځان ته روجما د پښنمی ته سامان راوړم ظالما
ولې وسه ټیم دی
غوخه والا خو سره لاړ نشي دومره رشته به دومره غړ کتارونه ورته ولاړ دي
او سبارو جماعت له خو واجب دي کور ته ځان رسو ولا سبارو څوک تیار شربت تیار
خو زه د لاړ نشي راشته وګي
یاره دلته ډېره مزه کوي ولی دوبه کې وای دا دوبه کې ډېره مزه کوي
یاره روزي به دوبه منی
قسم دی ولی یار والله
روزه پکې
قسم دې دوستانو دا جيري نه جيري دلته جماعتونو کې ټنټونه لګي
روزه کې نه قسم په خدای زبر دې تر اوته مقطارونه برانه تاو د شي به کړی وای را زما خپل اډا غب به لګو خلکو په پولیس احتیاط
نه دلته ډیلی وای دا ولی دلته ډیلی هغه کیږي افطاری پروګرام یعنی ارسي کنه خمزدار ټول راغون شي اوستران
الکه دوړ ورزو یاره جيري او څه وخت
راشي کنه دوړ
راشي ځان سره بوزا
مو ته راځه کنه دوړ بوزنګي ګچو
زادار باب سره په ډیرو چې کې ملاو نه قسم دې ټول ثوابونه دې په سینول کېږي
لکه ظالما توبه وباسه تاسو غلطه خبر راغستې دي یار ولې په کارو کې ته لایف باندې تکلیف ته تاسو دې سامان راوړو څه خوشاله اوسې ځه
د سینې چې رامي ارباب در باندې لګي او ته سبحان الله سبحان الله
والله ولا دا کار کوم څه جری
نازه خدای والم چې زلار زموږ 2 غنټې ناشته ما زبر جوسونه کم زیناله ماستا کم زینالم